Chapter 1. That's just the way it is. Waiter! A woman with horrendous makeup bellowed. Her action caused the other diners to frown deeply, but they chose not to say anything as they continued eating their meal. "Here it comes again," one of them muttered, taking the spoonful of food into his mouth and watching the woman from the corner of his eyes with familiarity. The next moment, a young man dressed in the establishment's uniform rushed to the woman's table. "Ma'am, you called for me. How may I help?" he asked politely, making sure to spot the best customer-friendly smile he could muster. "Yeah," the woman nodded and glared daggers at the boy. "You can help me by calling for your manager." "I'm sorry, ma'am, but the manager isn't available. If you have any complaint, please tell me and we will take note of it," the boy said, with a short and respectful bow. "Your manager isn't around, huh?" the woman asked. The young man gave a polite nod. He was watching the woman, and he noticed a faint smirk flash her face immediately after he nodded. "I see that's the reason why staffs like you can just make something so terrible and dangerous to the body and serve it to your precious customers? Do you not care for the lives of other humans, the people that come here to spend their hard-earned money? You really don't care about them, huh?" the woman asked with raised voice. Even a fool could understand what she was trying to do. The young man, who had just been barraged with questions, gave another polite nod. "I'm sorry if our services weren't to your liking, ma'am. If you won't mind, can you tell me exactly what the problem is so that we can work on it?" "Our utmost desire at Royal Grey IA to give our customers a very enjoyable experience through our menu," he said. "Enjoyable experience, my ass!" the woman bellowed and slammed her hands on the table. "I'm telling you that food you guys cook here are dangerous to the human health, and you're talking to me about enjoyable experience. What's enjoyable about it? Is paying hospital bills enjoyable?" The young man's eyes twitched when he heard this. He clenched his fist tightly and unclenched it the next moment. It was evident that he was about to lose and was doing his best to control himself. "Ma'am, what exactly is the problem?" he asked with a firm voice. "The problem, you ask? The problem is that your food contains poisonous ingredients." "That's the problem," the woman said. The young man bit his lower lip in frustration when he heard this. He scoffed inwardly as he looked at the multiple empty plates on the table. "It's poisonous, and you are everything that you were served? Not one plate or two, but 8. What load of nonsense." The young man didn't hold back on his curiosity as he asked, "Ma'am, you said the food are harmful, but you ate everything. Why?" The woman stiffened for a few seconds, clearly caught off guard by the question. She had never expected the kid who, like he could be blown away by her breath, to actually have the courage to ask such bold question. But who was she? She was someone that has been terrorizing businesses like this for some time now. There was no way that she will allow herself to be bested by a kid. Immediately, she flared up and sprang up from her seat. Due to her slightly huge body, the table was overturned as she stood up, and the plates on it fell to the floor, breaking and shattering into pieces. "What do you mean by what you said, boy? I dare you to repeat it," she growled into the young man's face. Clearly, her action was an act of intimidation, but contrary to her expectations, the young man didn't lower his head. But instead, he raised it and looked at her with a sharp, cold look on his eyes. This caused the woman to be flustered for a moment, and she flared up even more. She raised her hand and was about to slap the young man across the face, when suddenly another hand stopped her hand on place. "That's enough, ma'am. I'm the manager of the place. Come to my office and let us talk," the owner of the second-hand, middle-aged man said. The woman, seeing the manager of the establishment, knew that she has to put an end to her show. But she wasn't willing to let things go just like that. Fine, but before that, I want you to sack this disrespectful runt immediately. If not, I won't come with you, but leave immediately. And when I do, I will get my friends and we will bombard you with negative reviews, she said, with a cold and threatening voice. The middle-aged man, seeing that the woman has no intention to back down, decided to do as she wants. He turned to the young man and said with a firm voice, "You're fired. Remember the leave behind the uniform before you leave. Every necessary payments would be made to you. You don't need to worry about that." The young man didn't say anything when he heard this. He simply nodded and walked back to the kitchen. Meanwhile, a sinister smile could be seen on the woman's face. "Excellent decision," she said with satisfaction, clearly written on her face. The middle-aged man nodded. "Please follow me," he said, and started leading the woman to his office. The young man, who had just been fired, walked out through the back door of the restaurant. He looked at the time on his phone and sighed. He turned and started slowly walking down the street, looking out of it as he trudged his way home. The young man's thought was filled with a lot of philosophical questions about life and its meaning. He didn't bother to think about the job he had just been fired from, as he had already seen it coming. His boss, now former boss, has been looking for a good excuse to fire him, and the incident with that woman gave him the excuse he needed. The young man wouldn't surprised if his former boss planned everything together, and he wouldn't care. As for his philosophical questions, at the end, just like everyone else, he got no answer to any of them. What's the use of asking all those questions? Even if I get the answers to them, what would it change? All my life, I've always been at the bottom, experiencing one bad thing after another, and never truly experiencing anything worthwhile. But it's not anyone's fault. Neither is it that of the indifferent world I'm living in. Rather, it's because I'm without any talent whatsoever, which means I can only live life as it flows. That's just the way it is, Liam. Letting out a lengthy sigh, he cut off the unnecessary thoughts and focused on the street ahead. As he walked down the street, he turned and walked into an old residential units building. Few minutes later, Liam unlocked the door, opened it, and walked into his apartment. He threw a bunch of envelopes he has picked at the door on the old table and collapsed onto his bed. The bed frame creaked furiously, and the worn-out bed was pressed flat, almost becoming one with the bed frame. Liam winced slightly at the pain, but he didn't focus too much on it. Instead, he focused his thoughts on something else. He has just been sacked, and with just taking a look at his current living conditions, it's a no-brainer that he needs to get another job immediately. The envelopes he had picked up are eviction letters and notice for some of his unpaid bills. Excluding the contents of the envelopes, there was nothing edible at all to eat in the one-room apartment. As for Liam's bank account, he barely has $20 in it. Though his boss said that he will be sending his severance pay and whatnots, Liam wasn't banking on it. Besides, even if he does get it, it would only be a drop in the vast ocean of debts he's currently in. But what exactly do I do? The next moment, a sound echoed in Liam's head. Ding! Chapter 2. Ultimate Sign. Ding! Congratulations, host. Ultimate Sign. In-system has been activated. Would you like to bind the system? Liam was quite shocked and confused by the voice in his head. He found the whole situation to be very strange, but as someone who has gone through so much in life at such a very young age, nothing can faze him anymore. The next moment, his shock and confusion gave way to curiosity. Ultimate sign-in system? Can you tell me about yourself and what will happen after I bind with you? Absolutely, host. After binding with the system, you can perform sign-ins, which include daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly sign-ins. Through the sign-ins, you will receive rewards of varying kinds: cash, assets, skills, and slight physical improvement, etc. The system has other functions, but they are all locked, and you will have to unlock them as you progress. The system's ultimate goal is to make you the wealthiest and the most powerful being in all. Would you like to bind with the system? Before that, the money and assets I will receive as rewards, Liam said, intentionally allowing his voice to trail off. You don't need to worry about the legality of any of the rewards, host. I see. Okay, then. Begin the binding process. With the system's assurance, there was no need to delay any longer. He finally got something that can fix his miserable situation without risk. There was no way that he would refuse. Even if there was any risk to it, he would still accept. He felt that there was something he was forgetting, but he couldn't remember it, no matter how he tried to. Congratulations, host, on binding the system. Would you like to sign in, host? Yes, please. Congratulations, host, on obtaining a condo apartment in Blue Valley Residential Complex, $100,000, Maserati Gran Turismo, pro-level vehicular operating skill. Host, the money has been transferred to your account. The apartment's documents and car key are in the system's inventory. The car is parked in front of your current residence building. To learn the skill, please let me know. Just as the system said, the next moment, Liam's phone buzzed. He picked it up from the bed and looked at the screen, and he saw something wonderful. His previous balance of $18.69 has increased to a crazy amount of $118.69. A bright smile graced his face when he saw his new balance. He couldn't help but open his bank app to confirm further. He refreshed his dashboard multiple times, but the amount never changed, no matter how many times he refreshed it. The next second, he burst out into laughter. It was a full minute before he finally stopped laughing. With a bright smile on his face, he decided to focus his attention on the other rewards. A condo apartment in Blue Valley? Liam wasn't familiar with the complex. He quickly opened his phone's browser and searched for it online. It didn't take him long, and he found the information he was looking for. Blue Valley Residential Complex, a high-end residential building located in Palmville Estate, an upscale neighborhood. From what he saw online about complex, apartments aren't sold but rented out, and the rent are extremely expensive, with the cheapest they're costing a minimum of $8,000 monthly. This was a staggering amount for Liam, who can barely afford to pay rent of $500 monthly. If renting the cheapest apartment cost so much, then how much did it cost the system to purchase one? Liam was already starting to feel how amazing the system was. But the building wasn't the end of the rewards. There was still the car and the skill he got. Curious, he asked the system how to access the inventory. Just think of what you want to retrieve from it, and it will appear in front of you. Without hesitation, Liam thought about retrieving the car key, and the next moment, it magically appeared in his hand. He smiled when he saw the car key in his hand. He squeezed it, getting a feel of it. Liam wasn't knowledgeable about cars, but as a lover of cars, he decided to check for the car's information online. The car cost close to $192,000. Comes with a twin-turbocharged V6 in 2 states of tune, the more powerful belting out 542 horsepower, paired with an 8-speed automatic and all-wheel drive. Why Liam's limited knowledge on cars? All he could say was that if was great car. It's true when they say that you must be knowledgeable about something to truly appreciate it. Liam took another look at the car in his hand, smiled, and stood up from his bed and left his apartment. He remembered the system saying that the car was parked in the front of his current residence building, which means it's right outside the old building he's living in. Liam hastened his steps and arrived at the entrance of the building. He stepped out and sure enough, he saw a red car parked right in front of him. The car was sleek and beautiful, and its color was very eye-catching, causing it to grab the attention of those around and anyone that walked by. Liam pressed the unlock button on the car key, and the car beeped, an indication that it has been unlocked. With the smile still on his face, he walked to the driver's side of the car, opened the door, and got in. Seated, Liam caressed the steering, the leather seat, and the dashboard, getting a feel of its material. Though he has no idea what sort of material was used to make the leather seat, but the comfortable feeling it gave him when he caressed it and as he was seated told him all he needed to know. Such a high-end material. Liam kind of felt bad seated on such quality material with his worn-out and dirty clothes, but that feeling quickly disappeared just as it came. Who cares? It's my car, and I can do whatever I want with it. He was kind of curious about how the system made something as big as the car to appear in the street in broad daylight, but he decided to stop thinking about it. He doesn't want to waste his time thinking about something he might never understand. Instead, he wants to use his time to enjoy what the system has given him. Well, let's learn the driving skill. Immediately, Liam thought of learning the skill, and the next second, a vast amount of information flooded his brain, causing him headache. The flood of information stopped after a couple of seconds, and the headache disappeared along with it. As for the use of the skill, just as the name suggests, the pro-level vehicular operating skill gives him unparalleled operational ability over any vehicle, cars, aircrafts, ships, military aircrafts too, bikes. In other words, it was a god-level skill. Curious to see what had changed, Liam placed his on the steering, and he was surprised to find out that the feeling of it in his hand was now second nature to him. It's nice how the skill work, he said to himself. Without wasting any more time, he started the car and drove off to his new apartment. Chapter 3. Blue Valley Residential Complex, Blue Valley Complex, Palmville Estate. A red Maserati Gran Turismo slowly came to a stop in front of the complex. Inside the car, a wide, bright smile could be seen on Liam's face. The drive from his old neighborhood to this place has been very enjoyable. Even with how terrible the road is, with the non-stop bumps, he hadn't felt a thing. It was like he was flying. Though Liam was aware that he also has the pro-level driving skill to thank, because without it, he would have already damaged the car a long time ago. Liam turned off the car's engine off and took out the apartment's documents from the system's inventory. The documents materialized on his lap, and the first thing he saw was a black key card with gold stripes. Liam picked up the key card and examined it. He felt that the gold stripes on the card was real gold, and that the card was made of special material due to the high-class feeling it was giving him. After a few seconds of examining the card, he stopped as he found nothing. Actually, it wasn't that he found nothing. He has no idea what he was looking for or how to look for it. I better not give myself brain aneurysm, he smiled as he picked up the document from his lap, opened the door, and stepped out of the car. Stepping out of the car, Liam raised his head and looked at his surroundings, and his jaw dropped a little in shock. All around, all he could see are luxury cars. Every single brand was here. Mercedes, Maybach, Rolls-Royce, Lamborghini. The sight of all these cars made Liam feel like he had stepped into paradise, an expensive one. It wasn't just the cars. Even the air he was now breathing was clean, refreshing, and free of any stench whatsoever. He looked around and he couldn't see any form of dirt. It was even the open garage where he stood had always been meticulously maintained. Then, there was the multiple beautiful complexes around him, and he was left speechless. It was now that he finally understood why he was stopped at the estate's gate by the security guards. Just the sight of the cars alone already told him all he needed to know. Liam sighed and smiled as he closed the car door and walked into the building. Inside, he walked to the exclusive elevator designated for his condo. Yes, the condo has its own exclusive elevator. It was one of the perks that comes with the condo apartment. Liam was already at the elevator and was about to use the keycard to open the elevator when the general elevator opened up and someone stepped out of it. "Hey, that elevator isn't for public use. Use this one," a female voice said. Liam turned to look at the owner of the voice, and he was surprised to see who out was. Stacy? Stacy was Liam's former classmate. They went to middle school and high school together before he dropped out in his early second year. Though they weren't familiar with each other, as then they both lived in complete different worlds. Stacy was from a rich home, while Liam was from a struggling family. Also, she was the smart, talented, beautiful, and popular high school kid, while he was the dumb and introverted high school kid. "Hey, didn't you hear what I said?" Stacy asked, her voice bringing Liam out of his thoughts. "Yeah, I did." "Thanks," Liam replied, and turned to his private elevator. He saw that she didn't recognize him, not like he was expecting her to, especially with how invisible he always was in class. Stacy shook her head when she saw that the delivery person wasn't going to listen to her. She decided that it wasn't her problem and walked away. People these days, tisk, you tell them something and they make it feel like you're looking down on them, she said, clicking her tongue in exasperation. Just as she spoke, she was stunned to hear an unfamiliar elevator sound. She sharply turned to look, and she saw the private elevator that hasn't opened in ages. Opened. Her eyes widened in shock, and she looked at the young man who looks to be the same age as her, in confusion. Her eyes roamed all over him, trying to find out what she has missed, and that was when she saw it. That card?" she muttered in shock. She thought she saw it wrong, and she looked again. It's really it. But how?" she asked herself in shock. As someone that has been living in the estate and this particular complex for more than a year now, she knew what that card is and what it means. But what she couldn't understand is why someone that looks like a delivery person would be holding it. And then there was the papers in his hand too. Did he buy it? How's that possible? She felt that something was wrong and decided to ask this mysterious person herself. "Hey, I want to talk to you," she said, running to the closing elevator door. Unfortunately for her, the mysterious person didn't even stop it from closing, but nonchalantly watched her as she ran to it. Meanwhile, in the elevator, Liam was all smiles and filled with anticipation to see his new apartment. He felt that it would be special due to the fact that it has an exclusive elevator, but he has no idea what the difference between his own apartment and others. And he was curious about it as he felt that it was related to the reason why he has a private elevator. He did take a guess and felt that it might be because it's located on the top floor, but he wasn't exactly sure. As for Stacy's action, he didn't even give it a second of thought. Few minutes later, the elevator came to a stop and its doors slid open. Liam was shocked by what he saw when the doors slid open. In front of him was a long, empty hallway, and at the end of it was a huge double door. But this wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was the fact that this wasn't just any condo, but rather, it was a penthouse. The fact that his apartment was located on the top floor should had already told him this, but Liam hadn't thought that far. Also, he hadn't gone through the property documents in the hand. Or rather, he didn't want to think about it as he felt that he would be overreaching. Even now, he still had the thought that this wasn't a penthouse. Liam kept his emotions under control as he stepped out of the elevator and walked down the hallway. As he walked, he was starting to become even more convinced that this was a penthouse. The glass walls that allows him to see the city on both sides and the hallway ceiling lined up with very expensive-looking chandeliers. Liam's heartbeat increased as he slowly came to a realization. He let out a deep breath as he finally arrived at the door. With trembling hands, he placed the key card on the card reader and he heard a beep and a click as the door unlocked. Liam took a moment to relax himself as he closed his eyes and inhaled deeply before exhaling slowly. His eyes snapped open, and with a smile, he turned the door handle, slowly opened the door. What came into view, Liam's view, was a very magnificent sight, and it took his breath away. "It's really a penthouse," he muttered slowly as he stepped into it. He took off his shoes and walked to the living area, and he was left speechless. Big, comfortable, and expensive-looking cushions with gold trimmings, exquisite side and middle glass tables, also with good trimmings, beautiful artworks on the wall, vases that looks like they were imported from ancient times, and there's the floor that clearly reflects him like a mirror. Everything around him, from the ceiling to the painting on the walls, and even the floor, screamed luxury. Liam smiled and turned back, and he was shocked to see a 115-inch 4K QLED TV on the wall. "This really is paradise," he said with bright smile. Chapter 4. Paying Off Debts. It has been over half an hour since Liam walked into the penthouse. He had used the time to take a comprehensive tour of the mansion. As for the result of his tour, his current state of speechless. At first, just the fact that he got a penthouse had left him speechless, but the amenities in it made him even more speechless. Instead of calling it a penthouse or an apartment, it would be more appropriate to call it a house because it comes with everything and anything he wants. A living room with a dining area adjoined to it and the kitchen overlooking it. Then, a bedroom with an adjoining bathroom. These things are basics, yes. But what aren't basic are the furnitures, decorations, and the amenities in the penthouse. Everything's so high class and expensive looking that Liam felt that he might lose his mind. As for the price of the place, he didn't dare to check. He had already checked on the internet and saw that the prices of penthouse in areas around Palmville Estate cost a minimum of 4.5. Using that and the fact that his penthouse is special because it's a condo, and also the fact that Palmville Estate doesn't sell their units, he can already deduce that the price of his penthouse would cost at least $10 or $15. That was a staggering amount of money for someone who barely had $20 in his account an hour ago. Insane. Everything was still a lot for Liam to take in, but he was sure that he would get used to it, though it would definitely take some time. Seated on one of the cushions, Liam smiled from ear to ear as he savored the feeling of its comfort. He picked up the TV remote and was about to turn the TV on when his stomach growled, reminding him that he has yet to eat anything for the day. Liam dropped the TV remote back on the glass center table, picked up his car key and the key card, stood up from the cushion, and left the penthouse. Imperial Kitchen, Palmville Estate. Liam parked his car, and walked into the establishment. Immediately, his clothes attracted the attention of the customers around, as he was still wearing his worn-out clothes that has quite a bit of holes in it. A man in a tailored suit glanced at Liam's threadbare shirt, then at his Maserati keys resting on the table, his brows furrowed in confusion. As for Liam, he was used to stares and he used to shrink under them. But now, he didn't care to be bothered with the stares the man or everyone were giving him. They are entitled to their opinion, and GE has nothing to prove to anyone. Yes, his clothes aren't appropriate for a place like this, but it can't be helped. He has nothing else to change into, and he was too hungry and weak to start going shopping for clothes. He would definitely get some clothes later today or tomorrow, but all he wants to do now was to eat. Liam picked up the menu, went through it, and called the waiter. And a waitress arrived at his table to take his order. Not wanting to say too much, Liam pointed to the things he wants on the menu. The waitress nodded respectfully and walked back to the kitchen. With his order taken, Liam would have to wait for a few minutes before it's ready. Having free time, he decided to use it to pay up his debts. He transferred the due rents to his former landlord and texted him, telling him that he has moved out. He also paid all the bills that had piled up on his head and the $48,000 debt both his parents left him before running off with a rich man. As he paid off the debt, he remembered his parents. His dad divorced his mom when he was still in middle school, and right before he got into high school, his mom remarried and left him. He had no idea why she has done that, but 2 years later, he found out that the man she remarried didn't want him, and his mom had no choice but to leave her own child. Liam smiled mockingly when he thought about this. The truth was that the only reason why he paid off the debt was because he doesn't want to have anything to do with either of his parents. They can go and burn in hell for all he cares. Nothing would ever make him acknowledge them in his life again. Liam wasn't saying this because of the money he now has. Neither did he just make the decision. No, he has already made the decision a long time ago. If not, he wouldn't have taken on the debt as his own. There was also the crazy interest he had been paying for years, one of the contributing cause to his previous miserable situation. But no more. With the system, he definitely won't have to worry about money anymore and would continue to become even wealthier in the future. As for him, all he just wants to do was to enjoy this life of his and everything that comes with it. He will do the things he hadn't been able to do before. He will live the life he wasn't able to live before, and he makes sure that going forward, no one ever looks down on him again. Money gives confidence, they say. This was true for Liam. Though he currently has less than $40,000 in his account after paying off all his debts, he wasn't worried. Liam was brought out of his thoughts by the voice of the waitress as she served him his meal. After she was done, he thanked her and started eating. He took a bite of the chicken and nearly moaned due to how delicious it was. Liam took his time enjoying his meal. After he was done, he paid his bills and left. While paying, he saw that the cashier was looking at him strangely and was quite surprised after he paid the bill of more than $1,000 without issue. Also, he noticed some of the other customers looking at him strangely as he walked out of the restaurant without having any issue with the staffs. He understood their reasoning, but he didn't care. Liam checked his balance again. Still over $38,000 left. It was time to bury the old him, for good. He got into his car and drove off towards the shopping area of the estate. Chapter 5. Decisions. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to Armani, a female sales associate greeted, bowing slightly as Liam stepped into the store. The polished interior glistened under warm lights. Everything smelled like cologne, luxury, and quiet confidence. Without hesitation, Liam spoke. "Please get me some clothes, shoes, and the necessary accessories. I want something simple. My budget is $30,000. The associate's brows lifted just slightly, the professional smile never leaving her face. "Understood. Please follow me, sir." She turned and led him toward a private waiting room where clients of a certain status were usually seated. Inside, Liam relaxed in a plush, cream-colored chair, scrolling through his phone while waiting. His mind wasn't on social media or random videos. It was on his future. He now had a system, a mysterious power, promising to make him the most powerful and wealthiest man alive. And honestly, he had no plans of chasing grand ambitions, not yet. For the past 4 years, while others his age partied and dreamed, Liam was buried in double shifts and manual labor. He worked through sickness, slept through hunger, and existed more than lived. Every penny he earned vanished into bills, loans, and the debt his parents dumped on him like trash. Now he had a chance to breathe, a chance to live, and that's all he wanted for now. If the system wants to make me powerful, then fine. But for now, I'm going to enjoy this ride. For once, I'll let life be easy. His thoughts were interrupted when the associate returned, arms full with curated selections. She laid out the clothing, shoes, and accessories with practiced grace. "These were chosen to your budget and request. Do let me know what you think." Liam looked over the neatly presented pieces. Tailored suits, casual designer wear, handmade leather shoes, wristwatches, belts, all neutral tones, clean cuts, nothing flashy, but everything screamed wealth. "I'll take all of it," he said. "Of course, I'll prepare the packaging and payment terminal." A few minutes later, bags in hand, Liam left the store. He opened the door to his red Maserati Gran Turismo, tossed the bags onto the passenger seat, and slid in behind the wheel. The leather welcomed him like a throne. He started the engine and drove back toward his penthouse in Palmville Estate. Back in the penthouse, Liam walked straight into his bedroom. He placed the shopping bags on the bed, undressed, and stepped into the marbled bathroom. Warm water poured over him, washing away more than dirt. It felt like it was rinsing off every bad memory, every unpaid bill, every insult, every time someone told him he wouldn't make it. After the bath, he dressed in one of his new outfits, a dark navy dress shirt tucked into light gray slacks, paired with matte black leather shoes and a matching belt. He chose a simple silver wristwatch to complete the look. He turned to the full-length mirror by the closet and paused. The reflection looking back at him almost startled him. He was 18, with short, dark hair neatly combed to the side. His face wasn't the most handsome, but it was well-shaped and clean. His ocean blue eyes, normally dulled by exhaustion, now looked sharp and alert. His body still looked skinny and tired, but that would change very soon. As for new clothes, it hugged him perfectly, outlining his slim frame with precision. He looked elegant, rich, and capable. It was hard to believe he was the same guy who just yesterday had been cleaning dishes and getting screamed at by customers. "It's true what they say," Liam muttered. "Clothes really do make it the man." He gathered his old clothes, worn, torn, and stained, and tossed them into the trash. He wasn't going back to that version of himself, ever again. Liam walked into the living room, planning to lounge on the sofa and watch a movie. Just as he reached for the remote, his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen. It was his former boss, the same man who had fired him just earlier today. Liam stared at the name for a few seconds, then pressed the lock button and placed the phone face down on the couch. He wasn't in the mood for whatever excuse or insult the man was ready to spew. Instead, he scrolled through the streaming options and picked a random action movie. The loud gunfire and explosions on screen felt oddly soothing. Hours passed. The sun dipped below the horizon. The city skyline shimmered through the penthouse windows. By the time Liam turned off the TV, it was well past 9 p.m. He picked up his phone again and checked it. 7 missed calls and 3 messages, all from his ex-boss. He opened the messages. As expected, they were a mix of excuses and veiled accusations. "We can't process your severance now. Business has been terrible, especially after what happened with that woman. She's threatened legal action. You shouldn't have said what you did. You know the rules. Don't make this harder than it already is." Liam chuckled dryly. He hadn't expected to receive the money anyway, but the way the man twisted the situation into his fault still made his blood simmer. Almost a year of working under that petty tyrant, always walking on eggshells, always having his pay cut for the most minor infractions, always being threatened with dismissal like it was a sword over his head. A bitter memory surfaced, his boss once deducting half his salary because a customer complained he didn't smile warmly enough. Liam gripped the phone tightly. He inhaled, exhaled, and tossed the phone onto the couch. "Let it go," he told himself. "He's no longer worth your anger." If he sought revenge on every person who used or stepped on him, he'd spend the rest of his life chasing shadows. That wasn't living. That was a different kind of prison. But as for his parents, he would never forgive them. Not now. Not ever. The next morning, Liam woke refreshed. The sunlight poured into the penthouse through the full glass windows. The system's daily sign-in hadn't appeared yet, but Liam was already anticipating what reward might come next. After a quick bath, he dressed in another new outfit: white sneakers, slim dark jeans, a fitted charcoal polo shirt, and a new black leather wallet in his back pocket. He wanted to pick up groceries today. It might sound odd to some. Why cook when you could order anything? But Liam had always wanted to cook in a beautiful kitchen, not the cramped fire hazard he used to rent. The elevator ride was smooth, silent. He felt calm. But as the elevator doors slid open, he was startled to find someone standing directly in front of it. It was a familiar face. Stacy's. Chapter 6. System Upgrade. The soft chime of the elevator faded behind him as Liam stepped off the penthouse elevator onto the lobby. Sunlight filtered in through the glass facade, painting the marble floor in golden streaks. He ignored Stacy as he adjusted the grocery list in his hand and made his way toward the entrance, only to hear her voice behind him. "Hey, I'm sorry about yesterday." Liam paused. She stood a few steps away, her posture hesitant. Her eyes darted briefly to the floor, then back up to him, and she gave a soft, apologetic smile. "I didn't mean the things I said yesterday in a bad way," she continued. "I was just trying to help. I thought you were, someone who got lost or, well, I didn't mean to sound rude." Liam blinked, momentarily caught off guard. He had expected her to throw out a sarcastic comment or maybe continue acting entitled like she had the day before. But an apology? That was unexpected. Still, he didn't feel any lingering irritation. "It's fine," he said with a slight smile and resumed walking toward the exit. But before he could take more than a few steps, he heard her hurried footsteps catching up behind him. "Wait." Liam turned, raising a brow. Stacy stood there, phone in hand, trying her best to maintain a polite and casual expression, but he could see the curiosity bubbling behind her eyes. "My name's Stacy," she said, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "I live on the 7th floor. If you don't mind, I'd like to have your number, just in case I ever need help or we bump into each other again. Maybe we can get to know each other better." She extended her phone toward him. Liam didn't answer right away. He held her gaze for a second long, and it made her shift slightly under the weight of his silence, then took the phone from her hand. "Sure," he said, simply. He tapped his number into her contacts and handed the device back. "Anything else?" he asked, tone still even. Stacy blinked. "No, thanks." She gave him a small smile, less confident this time, and walked back toward the elevator, her heels clicking softly against the polished floor. Liam watched her go. He knew exactly why she wanted his number. She wasn't being flirty, not really. She was intrigued, curious. The penthouse had been empty for a long time, until now. And now, some guy in beat-up clothes suddenly had exclusive elevator access and drove a luxury Maserati. She was curious about the identity of the person that's living in the penthouse, and he intends to humor her. Liam smiled faintly to himself as he walked out of the complex. The drive to the nearest high-end grocery store took only 10 minutes. Liam parked the car, grabbed a cart, and stepped inside. The interior was spotless, with soft music playing in the background and the scent of fresh bread and roasted coffee lingering in the air. It was nothing like the budget stores he used to shop in. There were no long lines, no stale air, no harsh fluorescent lighting. He walked through the aisles, casually selecting items. Everything from fruits, vegetables, dairy, and spices, to imported oils, meats, and a bottle of vintage wine he picked just because he could. He paid for everything without blinking, even though the bill crossed the $2,000 mark. The cashier gave a professional smile, but he could tell she was surprised. Liam, dressed casually, didn't look like someone who'd drop that much on groceries. He loaded the bags into his trunk, drove home, and returned to his penthouse with multiple bags of food and ingredients. It felt surreal. Not long ago, he couldn't even afford ramen noodles. Now he had a luxury kitchen, marble countertops, and enough ingredients to cook like a private chef. He put everything away and prepped a simple breakfast: eggs, toast, grilled mushrooms, and fruit juice. Nothing fancy, just real food. Food he didn't have to stretch or ration. Food he could enjoy. He plated it carefully and sat by the wide window in the living room, the city skyline stretching before him. Each bite tasted better than the last. For the first time in years, Liam wasn't eating to survive. He was eating because he wanted to. The rest of the day drifted by like a breeze. He watched movies, took a nap, browsed online for furniture additions, maybe a sound system, maybe a massage chair. He even tried to read a book but dozed off halfway through. It was peaceful. There was no pressure, no boss to yell at him, no bills to fear. It was the kind of lazy day rich people took for granted. So this is what it's like to live, Liam thought, reclining on the sofa. Night came. The sky darkened, and the city lights below twinkled like a sea of stars. He poured himself a glass of cold juice and leaned back, staring at the ceiling. There was just one thing bugging him: the sign in. He hadn't seen the option pop up all day. Was there a delay? A cooldown? He was about to start panicking as the thought that system was just a one-off thing, and he might go back to the way the things were before. Or maybe the sign-in option won't appear tonight, and when he goes to bed and wakes up tomorrow, he will find out that everything was all a dream. That would really hurt. Just the thought alone was already causing his chest to tighten. He was just about to call out to the system and ask about the sign-in option when the highly anticipated notification finally chimed in his head. Ding! Would you like to sign in, host? Liam sat up with a grin. Yes. Congratulations, host. You have received $300,000 plus 5 attribute points. Host can now view status info screen. Say status to view. His phone buzzed almost immediately. Liam grabbed it, opened the bank app, and laughed softly when he saw the balance. $309.18.69. A new influx of cash, and stat points now too. His smile widened. So the system gave more than money. And now there was a new feature, status screen, huh? Status, Liam said aloud. Chapter 7, White Clover Residential Complex. Status. The next moment, a cyan screen with letters and numbers on it appeared in front of him. Host, Liam Scott. Age, 18. System level, 1. Strength, 9. Agility, 7. Stamina, 9. Attribute points, 5. Skills, Pro-level vehicular operation. Inventory, empty. System functions. Sign in. Liam extended his hand to touch the screen, but he later realized that it wasn't exactly in front of him, but right in his head. Amazing, he smiled, looking very impressed. The truth was that he has no idea what the system is or who created it, and he doesn't care. If there's one thing society has taught him and he has agreed with, it was that he shouldn't ask unnecessary questions, or he might ask the wrong type of questions and put himself in danger. Also, Liam felt that as time progresses, the system would explain everything to him. But for now, he would enjoy what comes with it. Making that decision, Liam stopped thinking of the unnecessary things and focused his attention on the screen. Quite a bit of information was being displayed on it. His name, age, system level, the quantification of his physical stats, his skills, the system's inventory, and its functions. Liam understood some of them, but some he didn't understand, and quite curious about. For example, the system level. He was curious about that. Unable to hold himself back, he decided to ask the system about it. But before he could answer, it gave him the answer. The system has multiple levels. Each level unlocks for function for the host and system to use. Though I currently can't tell you what the functions are, I can tell you that they are extremely valuable. So you can read my mind, huh? Liam nodded slowly. Yes, host. Not bad, I guess. Host does not need to worry, as I won't hurt you or allow anyone or anything to do so. My ultimate still remains the same. Thanks, Liam smiled. He has actually been genuinely scared. But of what, exactly? Even he has no idea, but the system's words has reassured him that he has nothing to worry about. So how do I increase the level? He asked. There are no set of definite actions or methods to do so. The system will automatically level up when it meets the criteria, but it will still be based on your actions. My actions? He asked in surprise. Yes, host. So, the leveling up method is defined or standard, but you will level up when you meet the criterias which are based on my actions. Exactly. That's vague. Well, I'm really looking forward to the functions that will be unlocked in the future, he smiled. With his question answered, Liam decided to make use of the attribute points he just received. He allocated 3 points to his stamina and 1 each to his strength and agility. Immediately after adding the points, He felt a strange warmth flowing through his body, and it disappeared just as fast. Even without being told, he already knew that the warmth of whatever it was meant that his strength has improved. Perfect. Now, I can get some sleep, he muttered as he snuggled into his bed. He was about to fall asleep when he remembered something. System, will the sign-in option arrive late tomorrow too? Host, the sign-in option arrival isn't fixed. Or do you want me to make it fixed? Can you do that? Liam asked curiously, and with a look of anticipation. I can. What time of the day so you want the sign-in option to appear? Liam took a moment to mull over the system's question. He thought about the best time he would love for the sign-in option to arrive, and he made his decision immediately. Let me call it myself. Is that possible? Definitely, host. Good. Perfect. Liam smiled from ear to ear in satisfaction. Even though it was for a moment, he had thought about it, and he felt that this was the best option. Liam yawned tiredly as he closed his eyes, with a genuinely happy smile, and fell asleep. The next morning, Liam woke up feeling very refreshed and happy. System, sign in, ding. Congratulations, host. You received $500,000. White Clover Residential Complex located in Yellow Creek Avenue. The money has been sent to your account. The paperwork to the property can be found in the inventory. Huh? Wait a minute. An entire complex? He asked in a mix of shock, confusion, and disbelief. Yes, host. That's insane. Liam had never expected this. Receiving an entire complex was something that he never imagined. What was a residential complex? It's a building that has multiple units, and the complex he just received is one that's located in an upscale neighborhood, which is like a 3 to 4 hours drive from Palmville Estate. And if there was one thing that both neighborhoods, and all upscale neighborhoods, has in common, it was that they don't sell their units. At least, to be able to buy a unit, having enough money wasn't enough. You need to be someone with a bit influence in the country or have a connection to someone like that. But now, without any sort of connection to anyone, he now owns not just a unit, a couple, or a few of them, but an entire complex. Thank you, system. I love you. You're the best. You're welcome, host. I'm just here to serve. Liam was very excited to start his day. Who wouldn't be after receiving such incredibly valuable rewards? With the $500,000 he received this morning, he now has more than $800,000 in his account, and it will keep increasing every day. What a beautiful day, Liam smiled from ear to ear as he walked into the bathroom. Few minutes later, Liam was done freshening up and was now in the kitchen, making himself something to eat. While on that, he thought about the complex and his plans for it. He would naturally be renting it out, but to do that, he needs a real estate agent or company to help him manage it. He could go online, browse through the list of reputable real estate companies, and choose one of them to manage the property for him. Liam thought about it and decided to do it like that. But that would be after he's done eating the delicious breakfast he's making for himself. What was a residential complex? It's a building that has multiple units. Each unit in that building could rent for thousands monthly. Multiply that by 10, 20. He didn't even know how many there were. But one thing was clear. He had just unlocked passive income. Just the thought of making so much monthly gave him a very sweet feeling in his chest. Chapter 8. Renting out the property. After finishing his breakfast, Liam grabbed his phone and car key, ready to leave for the nearest branch of one of the real estate companies he had looked up online. Just as he was locking his door and heading toward the elevator, his phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. He frowned slightly. He wasn't expecting any calls. Then he remembered. Stacy had collected his number yesterday. His expression relaxed as he answered the call and brought the phone to his ear. "Hey, good morning. It's me," a cheerful female voice said. "The girl who took your number in the lobby yesterday." Liam smiled. "Yeah, I remember. Stacy, right?" "Yup, you remembered my name. Seems I made an impression yesterday," she said, teasing slightly. He didn't reply to that line, though he found her approach a little amusing. It was still early, and her tone was already light and inquisitive. He could guess what this was about. "So, Miss Stacy," he said with mock politeness, "you have anything for me?" Not really. I was just wondering if we could go out, talk and stuff." Liam's smile widened. So that's how she wants to get closer. Interesting. Truth be told, he didn't mind. He had no friends, no one to call or hang out with. A little distraction wouldn't hurt. But he had something more important to do this morning. "I'd love that," Liam said warmly. "But I'm a little busy right now. Why don't I call you some other time and we can go out for dinner? What do you think?" "Sure, that would be nice. I'll be waiting for your call, Mr. It's Liam." "Okay, Mr. Liam, I'll be waiting," she said playfully, and hung up. Liam tucked the phone into his pocket just as the elevator doors slid open. He stepped in with a satisfied smile. 30 minutes later, Liam parked his Maserati in front of a large glass-paneled building in downtown Westbridge, California, a peaceful and upscale city on the western coastline, known for its tech influence and elite real estate. He looked up at the imposing sign fixed above the entrance, Silverstone Realty. It was one of the largest and most reputable real estate companies in the country. Their Westbridge branch handled dozens of premium clients and specialized in property management for luxury estates. Liam nodded to himself, satisfied with his choice. He stepped out of the car, straightened his collar, and grabbed the folder holding his property documents from the passenger seat. The moment he entered the lobby, he was greeted by cool air conditioning, minimalist decor, and a scent of expensive polish. A front desk attendant looked up as he approached. "Good morning, sir," she said politely. "Good morning," Liam replied. "My name's Liam Scott. I'm here to speak with someone about managing my property." "Of course. May I ask what kind of property it is?" she asked, already reaching for her tablet. Liam handed over the folder. "It's the White Clover Residential Complex, located in Yellow Creek Avenue." The receptionist's eyes widened slightly. She blinked, then blinked again, before slowly taking the folder. Her hands trembled ever so slightly as she flipped it open to confirm the contents. "White Clover," she repeated. "Clover?" "Yes," Liam said simply. A beat passed, and she quickly reached for the phone. "Please wait just a moment," she said, voice now noticeably more polite. She picked up the receiver and spoke quickly, her eyes flicking back to Liam now and then. "Mr. Newman, good morning. Mr. Liam Scott is here. He's looking for someone to manage his property. Yes, White Clover Residential Complex at Yellow Creek Avenue." Even from across the desk, Liam could hear the reaction from the other end of the line. The receptionist winced slightly and nodded. "Understood," she said, and placed the receiver down. "Someone will be right with you shortly, Mr. Scott. Please make yourself comfortable." Liam gave a small nod and stepped aside. He didn't even have time to sit when a tall man in a sleek gray suit came walking briskly from one of the glass offices in the back. His gait was confident, and his eyes scanned Liam with professional interest. "Mr. Scott?" he asked, smiling as he extended his hand. "I'm Trevor Newman, vice president of this branch." Liam shook his hand firmly. "Nice to meet you." "Please, come with me. Let's talk in my office." Inside Trevor Newman's office, the space was bright and modern, filled with tasteful wooden finishes and neatly organized files. A few plaques hung on the wall, awards, recognitions, and certifications. Would you like something to drink, coffee, tea? I'm good, Liam said, setting the folder of documents on the table. Let's get straight to the point. Of course, Newman said with a professional smile, though Liam could sense the curiosity in his eyes. He opened the folder and began flipping through the documents carefully. Even though the receptionist had already informed him, seeing the name White Clover on official deed papers stunned him again. That complex wasn't just prestigious. It was a fortress of exclusivity. And yet, the boy in front of him, well-dressed but undeniably young, had handed it over with the same calmness someone might hand over a parking ticket. Trevor glanced up from the papers and studied Liam for a moment. Who is he? Some heir to an old money family? A hidden tycoon's son? He had dealt with rich clients before, but there was something about Liam's presence, quiet, composed, detached, that made him think there was more beneath the surface. But he didn't ask, not when the opportunity to manage White Clover had just landed in his lap. This is quite a property, Newman said, closing the folder. We'll take great care of it. He straightened in his seat. After we assess and list the available units for rent, the revenue, minus our management fee, will be transferred directly to your account. We'll assign a top-tier team to handle maintenance, tenant screening, financial audits, and any regulatory filings on your behalf. Liam nodded. That works. Let's go ahead with it. Newman pulled out some additional documents. Then all I'll need are your signatures here and here. Also, if you could write down your preferred bank for deposits. Liam signed calmly and handed over the necessary details. By the time they were done, Trevor had already sent an internal memo to his senior team. Liam Scott was now a VVIP client of Silverstone Realty. Newman stood and escorted him back to the lobby personally. Mr. Scott, he said, opening the door, if there's anything you need, anything at all, just give me a call. Thanks, Liam said, shaking his hand again. As he walked back to his car, Liam felt oddly pleased. He saw how Mr. Newman had treated him, and he wouldn't lie. It felt nice. With the property taken care of and no other plans for the day, and since he doesn't want to go back home and just lounge on his sofa in bed, he decided to call Stacy. Let's see the distraction she's going to bring. Chapter 9. Stacy Burton. The mid-afternoon sun cast a soft amber glow over the wide glass windows of Crown Ivy Lounge, one of Westbridge's most exclusive upscale cafes. Located on the top floor of the Monarch Pavilion, the lounge was a known spot for the city's wealthy youth, an oasis of quiet refinement, fragrant imported blends, and velvet-draped privacy booths overlooking the ocean skyline. When Liam had called Stacy and told her he was free, she'd practically lit up. She offered to pay and selected the meeting spot herself. And now, here they were. Seated across from each other in a private booth, Liam watched as Stacy raised her cup delicately, took a sip, and let out a satisfied sigh. She smiled. They really know how to make a perfect honey lavender latte here. Liam merely offered a small nod as he cradled his own drink, an iced black citrus brew served in a frosted glass, the kind of beverage that looked like it belonged more at a Michelin-starred bar than a cafe. He hadn't taken more than 2 sips, but he liked the taste. Unfortunately for the beverage, Liam was still new to high-class things like it and couldn't fully appreciate it. But what stood out more than the drink, however, was the look in Stacy's eyes. She was smiling, speaking softly, even leaning forward a little, but Liam could see through all of it. She was curious, starving even, and she was doing her best to hide it behind carefully measured charm. After so long dealing with people, on both the low and high ends of society, Liam had learned something simple. People lie with their eyes more than their mouths. Stacy, despite all her composure, had been waiting for this moment. and now that she had it, she didn't want to waste time. So she leaned in slightly, resting her forearms on the table. "Mr. Liam, I'm really curious about you. But first, let me introduce myself properly. I'm Stacy Burton." Liam sipped his drink, his eyes never leaving hers. Direct, no name-dropping yet. That's unexpected. He had half expected her to lead with who her father was or which board her mother sat on. But she didn't. "Liam Scott," he said simply. She tilted her head with a soft smile. "Liam Scott. That's a nice name. I like it." "Thank you." He didn't elaborate, as there was nothing else to say. He was watching her now, not out of suspicion, but out of curiosity. He wanted to see what she would do with the silence, and just as he expected, she filled it. She began again, shifting her cup in her hands. "I still want to apologize for the other day. I didn't mean anything I said in a bad way or intend to be rude. I was just surprised." Liam gave her the same smile he had in the elevator the first time they met. Polite, but distant. "Don't overthink it," he said. "Like I said, it's fine." The truth was, her comments that day hadn't left the slightest dent in him. People's opinions were currency. They could only affect you if you gave them value. And hers, it held no weight in his world. Still, he understood that her earlier behavior had likely been her own misguided way of offering help. She meant well, even if she was awkward about it. Stacy exhaled softly. She noticed that Liam wasn't offering much in the way of personal detail, but rather than be discouraged, she leaned into her natural charisma. "I'll just be honest," she said with a shrug. "I'm curious about you, Mr. Liam. You don't talk much, and I can't find you online. Yet you own a penthouse in Palmville Estate. That's not exactly something normal people pull off." She laughed lightly, but there was a deliberate weight behind her tone. "You must be from some kind of family. Maybe one with a lot of influence or old money?" Liam's expression didn't change. He didn't flinch. He simply took another slow sip of his drink and set it back on the table. Then he smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. It was calculated, icy, with a hint of amusement beneath the surface. And that smile, combined with the quiet intensity in his gaze, made Stacy freeze. The moment stretched. She looked away for a second, then forced herself to meet his eyes again. "I'm sorry if I said something wrong," she said quietly. "I didn't mean to be invasive. I was just curious." This was only the second time she had spent more than a few minutes with Liam. And yet, both times, she had walked away feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Small. It wasn't the car. It wasn't the penthouse. It wasn't even the way he dressed. It was him. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't try to impress her. And he didn't flinch under pressure. He just existed with total control. That not only scared her, but it also hurt her pride. Her father was the founder of Ultimax Holdings, a diversified investment group valued at nearly $10 billion. Her mother owned one of the most influential boutique cosmetic empires on the west coast of the country. Through her parents' networks, Stacy had grown up surrounded by wealth, status, and access. She knew children of senators, CEOs, media barons, and she'd never once felt uncomfortable in a room, until now. Across from Liam Scott, she felt like she was on trial, and she didn't even know what the case was. Liam, for his part, understood exactly what Stacy was feeling. She had made an assumption that his penthouse meant he came from an elite family, a child of privilege, someone like her. But he wasn't. He was just a young man with a secret that no one could comprehend. A secret that gave him more power, wealth, and freedom than most of these families could ever offer. Still, he had no intention of correcting her. Let her find out the truth in her own time. He stood up smoothly, the chair making no sound as he rose. "Miss Stacy," he said with a smile, "thank you for the drink, but I'll be heading out." Her eyes widened slightly. "Wait, I hope we get another chance to talk again," he added, his tone calm and final. "Maybe next time we can both speak less like investigators and more like people." Before she could respond, he was already walking away. He didn't look back. The door of Crown Ivy Lounge closed behind him, and Stacy sat frozen, staring at the spot where he'd been sitting just seconds ago. She sighed and took a slow sip from her latte, no longer tasting the sweetness. A moment later, her phone buzzed. It was a call from one of her friends. She answered, still staring at the table. "Hey," she said, her voice a little distant. "Stace, you okay?" "You sound weird. I just had coffee with someone, and I can't explain it. He's different." "Different how?" "I don't know," she said honestly, "but I want to find out." "If you say he's different, then he must be really special. Anyway, I'm with Alex and the others, and he's telling us something really juicy. Why don't you come over?" "Sure, give me a minute." "Don't take long, girl," the girl on the other end said, and hung up. Stacy sighed as dropped her phone on the table. "Liam Scott. Who are you?" she muttered to herself. Chapter 10. Bored, Liam evening. The Rose Hill Terrace, the warm golden glow of vintage chandeliers, lit the soft velvet interior of the Rose Hill Terrace, one of Westbridge's most exclusive fine dining establishments. Nestled in the heart of the city's cultural district, the restaurant was known for its private booths, rare wine selection, and strict reservation-only policy, frequented mostly by the offspring of CEOs, media moguls, and legacy billionaires. As Stacy opened the door to a private booth, laughter spilled into the hallway. Inside, a group of 6 young men and women sat comfortably, sipping drinks and nibbling from shared platters of gourmet appetizers. Everyone in the room was either born into wealth or had connections that made doors open effortlessly. At her entrance, the group greeted her casually. Christy waved her over with a smile and patted the seat beside her. "Stace, over here." Stacy smiled and slid into the open spot beside her. "Hey, Christy." "You're just in time." Alex was about to spill something wild he heard from his dad earlier today, Christy said, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Across the table, Alex Newman, the only son of the regional vice president of Silverstone Realty, nodded at Stacy politely. "Hi, Stacy." "Hi, Alex," she replied. As the conversation resumed, Stacy leaned back and folded her arms, her attention half on the wine glass in front of her. But as Alex began talking, her ears tuned in. "So," Alex started again, "I went to see my dad at his office earlier today, yeah? And when I got there, I saw him standing outside, just staring at the street like he was waiting for someone important." Christy frowned. "Your dad doesn't leave his desk for anyone." "Exactly," Alex said. "So I asked him what was up. He said he had just seen off a new VVIP client." That got a few raised brows. "My interest kind of faded there," Alex continued. "I figured it was another Saudi prince or aging billionaire." A couple of the group chuckled. "But then, he said something that completely threw me." "The client?" Alex paused for effect. "He said the guy looked to be around my age, maybe even younger." That shifted the atmosphere immediately. Everyone straightened slightly in their seats. What? Someone asked. Yup. Kid didn't look a day over 20. Christy narrowed her eyes. A VVIP client at Silverstone? But that means, Alex nodded. Property worth at least 10 mil, minimum. I asked my dad what kind of property it was, and he didn't give me a number, but he did give me the name. He let the suspense hang, knowing he had them right where he wanted them. Finally, he said, White Clover Residential Complex, Yellow Creek Avenue. The reaction was immediate. Gasps spread around the table. A few mouths fell open in disbelief. Even the server who had just walked by did a double take when he heard the name. Wait, what? Christy said, stunned. That's like the crown jewel of that entire district. Exactly, Alex said, visibly pleased with the reaction. I thought the same thing. And you know how tight the ownership circle is in Yellow Creek? Even renting there is practically invitation only. Someone else chimed in. You need serious political or financial backing just to be considered. And a whole complex? Alex nodded. That's why I kept pressing. Of course, my dad wouldn't say anything. But I did manage to get the receptionist to give me something. The table leaned in collectively. She didn't give me the full name, obviously. But after a lot of persuading and a small bribe, she told me the guy's first name. Just one word. Liam. At that moment, Stacy froze. Her grip tightened slightly on the stem of her wine glass, and she turned her head toward Alex. He caught her reaction and smiled knowingly. Stacy, he said playfully, looks like you know something. Curious, are we? She tried to keep her expression calm. Just surprised, that's all. It's unaffected. Alex leaned back. Wish I could dig more. But you all know how Silverstone operates. VVIP clients are practically ghosts. I don't want to cause problems for my dad. Everyone nodded in understanding, but Stacy didn't respond. Her mind was racing. Liam. The name was still echoing in her ears. She remembered their conversation from earlier. He had told her he was busy, that he had something important to take care of. Could it be? Could that Liam be her Liam? The one who sat across from her this afternoon with such calm composure? She sipped her drink slowly, trying to appear unfazed. But inside, a storm was brewing. Later that evening, Liam's penthouse. Liam lounged on the large sectional sofa, one arm stretched behind his head, the other scrolling lazily through his phone. A movie played in the background, something lighthearted he wasn't really watching. He had returned from his outing nearly an hour ago, and time had passed sluggishly since then. Truth be told, he was bored. As someone who had spent most of his life working to survive and had no opportunity to truly live his life, Liam had never truly learned how to have fun. Even now, with nearly $1 million in his account and a system that gave him passive rewards, he felt strangely unequipped. For the first time in years, he had no schedule. There was no boss breathing down his neck and no overdue rent or mounting bills to stress over. He was free from everything, and yet, here he was, scrolling between news, memes, and online store listings, trying to feel something. Should I try clubbing tonight? He muttered, barely convincing himself. The thought felt foreign. He had never been to a club before. The idea of flashing lights, loud music, and shoulder-to-shoulder crowds didn't appeal to him, at least not alone. More importantly, he didn't want to walk into something unfamiliar without at least one person who knew the scene. Scratch that idea. His eyes drifted to the screen again. Maybe I should get a new phone, he said aloud. The one he was using was several years old, an Android with a cracked edge and sluggish response times. It had served him faithfully, but it didn't reflect who he was now. iPhone or Android, he pondered. He wasn't loyal to either, and now that he could afford anything he wanted, he decided he'd just walk into a store tomorrow and buy whatever felt good in his hand. No more overthinking. Eventually, night fell, and despite the luxury surrounding him, the evening passed quietly. He had scrolled through tech articles, played a few rounds on the PS5, and reheated leftovers from earlier. It wasn't thrilling, but it was peaceful. Still, the emptiness lingered. As he climbed into bed and pulled the soft, high thread count blanket over his shoulders, he stared at the ceiling. "This can't be all I do," he murmured. He knew that if he kept isolating himself like this, even paradise would feel like a cage. "Guess I'll have to start socializing. That shouldn't be hard, right?" he muttered to himself. Not wanting to overthink it, Liam closed his eyes and slowly drifted off to sleep. Tomorrow was another day, and he was curiously looking forward to the rewards he would receive. Maybe he will receive a surprise like today. He can only wait and see. Chapter 11. Custom Items. The soft glow of morning sun spilled through the glass-paneled windows, painting golden streaks across the minimalist interior of Liam's penthouse. A faint breeze drifted in through the cracked balcony door, carrying with it the distant sound of the waking city. Liam stirred, yawned, and sat up in bed with a calm, easy smile. Ever since the system had entered his life, mornings had taken on a different tone. No more rush, no alarms, no anxiety. I guess this is the effect of having inner peace and no longer having to worry about anything. It feels like freedom. "System," he said, voice still groggy. "Sign in." A soft chime rang in his head. Ding. "Congratulations, host. You received a custom-made watch. Patek Philippe, a Calatrava 5196E, Monarch Edition. A custom-made suit. Savile Row, Langford model, two-piece. A custom-made shoe. George Cleverly, Churchill Last, whole cut. Items are in the wardrobe." "What?" Liam blinked. He had to reread the notification twice before it sunk in. A custom watch, suit, and shoes? He chuckled in disbelief and rubbed his eyes. "I guess the system's really trying to get me out of the house." Still slightly dazed, he slid out of bed and made his way to the nearly empty, large walk-in wardrobe. As he opened the wardrobe doors, he was greeted by an elegant trio of items that exuded wealth, refinement, and old-world craftsmanship. To the far right sat a modest dark brown cardboard box with a subtle embossed logo and the word Patek printed underneath it in soft ivory. Beside it was a charcoal cotton garment bag, neatly zipped, with Anderson and Shepherd stitched discreetly in white thread on the upper flap. And to the left, a dark green rectangular shoebox with a quiet gold foil logo that read George Cleverly. Liam felt like a kid staring at gifts on Christmas morning. He picked up the Patek Philippe box first. Lifting the outer shell, revealed a polished lacquered presentation box inside, its high-gloss mahogany finish gleaming in the morning light. He opened it, and there it was, the watch. It rested gently on a soft cushion, its platinum case glinting, the slate-gray dial calm and elegant, the white gold brigade numerals subtle but refined. But what caught his eye even more was what surrounded it. A gold-plated nameplate engraved with the words Monarch Edition, a sealed envelope bearing the Patek seal, and a letter printed on thick cream-colored paper. He opened the envelope and unfolded the certificate within. Certificate of Origin. Commissioned piece number 1 of 1. Calatrava 5196P, Monarch Edition. Created for Liam Scott. The second letter was from Patek themselves, handwritten, thanking him for commissioning a legacy heirloom. Liam couldn't help but smile. This is insane. He picked up the watch and slipped it around his wrist. As soon as the clasp snapped into place, information streamed into his mind. It felt perfect, balanced. The strap hugged his wrist like it was meant to be there. Not heavy, but definitely present. Every tick felt precise, deliberate, like time itself was moving at Liam's pace now. He took it off gently and placed it back in its case. Now for the suit. He unzipped the Anderson and Shepherd garment bag and slowly pulled out the suit, resting inside. Midnight navy. Wool so soft it almost felt like cashmere, and yet there was a strength in the weave that spoke of legacy. He nodded, impressed despite himself. Never thought I'd wear something like this. Lastly, he turned to the shoebox. He lifted the lid to reveal 2 flannel bags, oxblood in color, soft to the touch. Inside were a pair of breathtaking whole-cut Oxfords, smooth, seamless, and flawless. System, he muttered. You're really outdoing yourself. I'm glad you like them, host. Like them? I love them. For a moment, he just stood there, staring at the items like they were museum pieces. He didn't need to know luxury to understand quality. He could feel it. As for their costs, watch, $600,000 plus, suit, $14,000, shoes, $8,000. This brings everything to a total cost of $622,000 in custom craftsmanship resting quietly in his wardrobe. And not a dollar had left his account. It really feels good to have nice things. With a gleam in his eye, he headed to the bathroom. He wants to take his bath and try on the suit. 40 minutes later, Liam stood in front of the full-length mirror. The suit fit like it had been sewn on his body thread by thread. The midnight navy color complemented his skin tone, giving him a mature, composed look. The subtle sheen of the wool caught the light just enough, never loud, always reserved. The shoulders framed him perfectly, and the forward-cut sleeves gave him a commanding silhouette. The George cleverly hole cuts grounded the look, giving him an elegant yet quietly powerful look. And on his wrist, the Patek Philippe Monarch edition completed the ensemble, making him look refined, regal, and unapologetic. Overall, he looked timeless. His short dark hair was neatly styled. His ocean blue eyes seemed sharper, more piercing in contrast to the deep navy of the suit. His build, slender but athletic, carried the suit well. For the first time, he didn't just look like he belonged in the room. He looked like he owned the room. Liam adjusted his cuffs, glanced down at his shoes, then back at the mirror. Damn, he murmured, smirking. I clean up nice. Nice. I have the outfit. All I need is an occasion. Then, unbidden, a face flashed in his mind. Stacy's. He chuckled softly and shook his head. With the way our last conversation ended, I won't be surprised if she calls soon with another casual invite. He had no plans yet and no event to attend. But now, if something came up, he was ready. For now, he slipped off the suit, the shoe, and the watch, and began preparing himself something to eat. Early noon. The door to the penthouse opened and Liam walked in. He dropped small shopping bag with Apple logo on the sofa, as he equally sank into it. He was about to start setting up his phone when his buzzed. He checked it and he saw that it was a message from Stacy. Hi, sorry for yesterday. I want to invite you out for dinner or a drink, to apologize for my lack of manners. I hope you will accept my apology. He had already expected her to send a message, so he wasn't exactly surprised. But he didn't reply immediately, as he set up his new phone first. After he was done with the phone setup, he decided to reply. He had thought about it, and he decided to accept her invitation, as he has nothing to do at home. Either are fine by me, Give me a time and location, and I will be there. Immediately, he received a response from her. Thanks for replying and accepting my apology. There's a great diner downtown, Noir and Time. Let's meet there, 6 p.m. Sure, I will be there. Thanks, Liam sighed, dropping his phone on the sofa. He had already gotten himself a new phone, iPhone 16 Pro Max. It felt kind of strange causally spending more than $1,000 on a phone. Just 3 days ago, he was at the end of his wits. But all that has changed. It felt strange and surreal to say the least, but he was enjoying it. Chapter 12, Dinner with Stacy. The sun had just dipped below the skyline, leaving behind hues of violet and gold, streaking across Westbridge's twilight horizon. Downtown had begun to buzz with nightlife energy, with street lamps flickering to life, valet attendants moving with very admirable skills, and luxury cars gliding into sleek parking bays. Liam pulled up in front of Noir and Time, the discreet but famous high-end diner tucked between a boutique wine cellar and a glass art gallery. The restaurant's signature brushed steel signage was barely noticeable unless you knew what to look for. Only those in the know ever found their way here. He stepped out of his car, adjusting the lapel of his midnight navy Langford suit. His Patek watch gleamed faintly in the low light as he tugged down his cuff. The George Cleverly Oxfords made not a sound as he walked toward the entrance, giving him a light-footed elegance. Once inside, the atmosphere enveloped him like a velvet curtain. Dimly lit chandeliers, jazz filtering in from a baby grand piano, and the subtle scent of truffle oil and aged wood. A hostess greeted him with a soft smile. Welcome to Noir and Time, sir. Did you make a reservation? No. Stacy Burton. The hostess gave a knowing nod. Private booth 3, just down the corridor, she said. Liam gave a quiet thanks and made his way through the plush aisle. He spotted the booth quickly. The semi-enclosed seating offered privacy without feeling claustrophobic. Inside, Stacy sat upright, dressed in an elegant deep emerald dress that hugged her form tastefully. Her hair was done in loose waves, and a soft gold pendant rested just above her collarbone. She looked up as the door creaked open, her posture tensing slightly, then relaxed immediately when she saw him. Hey, she said with a smile, her voice warm but cautious. Hi, Liam replied, stepping in and closing the door softly behind him. He took the seat opposite her. Thanks for coming, she said, sincerity in her tone. It's no problem. I didn't order yet, she added quickly. I wanted to wait for you. Liam nodded, reaching for the leather-bound menu. As he began to glance through the options, Stacy took the opportunity to study him. Her eyes roamed his outfit, subtle but practiced, observing the fabric, the cut of the suit, the clean lines, and above all, the absence of any logos. There were no peacock labels, no overdone watches with diamonds on it screaming for attention. As someone that's used to high-class fashion, she didn't need to ask, as she already knew. The suit wasn't off the rack. The watch wasn't mass-produced. She didn't even recognize the leather, but she could tell they weren't ordinary. He's either from serious money, she thought, or something else entirely. Before she could dwell or stare at him too long, as she didn't want a repeat of yesterday. The next moment, a waitress stepped into the booth, tablet in hand. Stacy smiled and gave her order quickly. White truffle pasta, the establishment's specialty. Liam ordered the honey-glazed lamb with rosemary risotto. With a bow, the waitress left them in silence. You look great, Stacy said, her voice soft, eyes sincere. Thanks, Liam replied, returning the smile. You look beautiful. Really? Thank you. I wasn't sure what to wear, but I wanted to look nice. He gave a slight nod, saying nothing more. Stacy chuckled under her breath. You're not very talkative, are you? I don't usually have much to say. Fair enough, she said, leaning back slightly. She picked up her glass of sparkling water and took a slow sip. Well, she said, thank you again for meeting me. I honestly wasn't sure you'd say yes after how I acted the other day. It's fine. No, she insisted. It wasn't. I was prying. You didn't owe me anything, and I came at you like I was conducting an interview. You've already apologized, so it's fine, Liam said. She laughed quietly, relieved that he wasn't holding it against her. I blame my curiosity. It's gotten me into trouble more times than I care to admit. Liam raised an eyebrow slightly. That a habit of yours? Kind of, she shrugged. But in my defense, Noir and Time has a way of loosening tongues. I was really looking forward to tonight. Their truffle pasta and honey-glazed lamb, unreal. And I really needed a break anyway. My week has been chaos. 2 family dinners, 3 charity events, and my best friend blowing up my phone over something that probably wasn't even important. Sounds intense, Liam said. You have no idea. I nearly lost it. How about you? How was your week? Liam thought for a second, his gaze lowering slightly as flashes of the past few days crossed his mind. Credit alerts, luxury deliveries, the absurdly perfect suit he's wearing, and a mysterious system changing his life. It's been great, he said, keeping his answer simple. Stacy tilted her head. See, this is what I mean. You say one sentence, and somehow I end up with more questions. You're impossible to figure out. Liam gave a slight smile. Is that so? She laughed again. Okay. I won't pry. I promise. She paused, tapping a finger lightly on the rim of her glass. I'm kind of curious to know, what do you do for fun? Liam blinked, then chuckled. Nothing really. I'm new here. I mostly stay indoors. My social circle is non-existent. Seriously? Seriously. She blinked in surprise, not hiding it. You don't go out? Clubs? Art walks? Beach drives? Nope. She sat back, thoughtful. Then her lips curved into a sly smile. That's unexpected. But lucky for you, you've just met someone who can fix that. My friends and I have a private gathering tonight. Drinks, conversation, music, nothing too crazy. If you're free, I could introduce you. Liam looked at her for a moment, considering, then nodded. Sure, I'd like that. Her smile widened. Great, we'll head out after dinner. Their food arrived moments later. The plates were artfully arranged. Liam's honey-glazed lamb rested beside a bed of herbed risotto with charred asparagus layered on top. A drizzle of fig reduction added color and flavor. Stacy's truffle pasta glistened under the overhead lighting. Thinly shaved white truffle curled over ribbons of handmade fettuccine in a creamy pecorino base. Both dishes were fragrant, warm, and elegantly portioned. The two ate in companionable silence for the first few minutes, savoring their food. Between bites, they occasionally glanced at each other, the energy between them more relaxed now. Stacy had kept her promise as she didn't ask any invasive questions. And Liam enjoyed the meal and the company. When the plates were cleared and dessert was politely declined, Stacy signaled for the bill. Liam opened his mouth, but she stopped him with a quick wave. My treat. This was my apology dinner, remember? He smiled but said nothing, allowing her the gesture. But in his mind, he made a decision that if the night goes well, he will invite her out for dinner someday. As they stepped out of the restaurant into the cool evening air, Stacy turned to him. I'll drive ahead. You can follow behind me. It's not far. Got it. They walked toward their cars, the street quiet, save for the occasional passing vehicle. Liam slid into his seat, fired up the engine, and began to follow Stacy's silver coupe as it pulled away from the curb. And just like that, a quiet dinner had turned into something else entirely. Liam didn't know what the night would bring, but he was curiously looking forward to it. Chapter 13. Stacy's Friends, Underground Parking Lot, Eclipse West Nightclub. The tires of Liam's car rolled to a soft stop beside Stacy's silver coupe in the dimly lit underground garage. Ambient lighting glowed faintly along the ceiling beams, casting a cool hue over the polished concrete and accentuating the sleekness of the vehicles parked in the exclusive VIP zone. Liam stepped out, tugging lightly at the front of his midnight navy Langford suit. The motion adjusted the jacket just right over his chest, letting the soft fabric settle against his frame. He exhaled slowly, still not entirely used to the idea of entering a nightclub. When Stacy told him that her friends were having a gathering, she didn't tell him that it was at a nightclub. It felt kind of strange coming to a place like this, and he's really looking forward to the experience. "Liam," Stacy's voice called out warmly. She stood a few feet away, her figure silhouetted against the soft parking light. She looked effortlessly chic in the dark sapphire dress she's wearing, paired with a simple clutch and heels. He walked over to her, matching her pace as they approached a guarded door in the corner. "This underground parking lot is for the establishment's VIP members only," Stacy explained, glancing sideways at him as they walked. "You skip the main entrance and the line's this way. It's quieter." Liam nodded. He appreciated the explanation, but more so, he appreciated the way she gave it without arrogance. When they had driven past the main entrance earlier, he'd caught a glimpse of the crowd, a long line of people waiting their turn, phones in hand, bouncers managing chaos. Compared to this private route, it looked like a different world. He was slowly gaining some understanding of how things work among the rich. He did feel that it was nice, though, the preferential treatment. Money really does open doors. The doorman, an older, stocky man in a sharp black suit, recognized Stacy immediately, and without a word, he opened the door for both of them. They stepped into a silent hallway. The space was narrow, with matte black walls and recessed lighting that lit the path without being obtrusive. At the end stood a sleek black security door, flush with the wall and completely unmarked, except for a small card reader. Stacy pulled out a slim black card with the club's logo in glossy emboss. She tapped it against the reader and soft beep sounded. She opened the door and held it slightly for Liam, who stepped in behind her. On the other side was a wide corridor, surprisingly well lit, with several heavy, soundproof doors lining either side. To Liam, it looked more like the luxury suite corridor at a five-star hotel than anything he'd imagined a nightclub to be. "Our booth's this way," Stacy said. They walked down a few steps and reached one of the doors, which Stacy opened with a gentle push. Inside, the booth was a lounge suite of its own, large enough to accommodate 10 people comfortably. There was a long, L-shaped velvet banquette in charcoal gray wrapping around a matte black cocktail table, soft ambient lights hanging above, and a backlit bar shelf along the wall showcasing premium liquors under gold-tinted glass. Seated on the lounge were 6 other people, young men and women in their late teens to early 20s, all dressed like they'd walked out of a fashion magazine. They were mid-conversation and mid-laugh when the door opened. The room fell silent almost instantly. All heads turned toward the door. They saw Stacy first. Then, an unfamiliar male in elegant attire standing beside her. They immediately got curious to know Liam's identity and how he's related to Stacy. Stacy? Christy, her best friend, raised an eyebrow, her tone halfway between surprise and admiration. "Guys," Stacy said brightly, turning slightly. "This is Liam. Liam, meet my friends." A pause, and all of their attention were focused squarely on Liam. Stacy saw their expressions, the wide eyes, the flickering recognition, the hushed curiosity. She smiled faintly to herself, just as she'd expected. After Alex told them about the owner of White Clover Residential Complex, the name Liam was beginning to mean something in their social circle. And whether this Liam was the one who owned the property or not, the way he carried himself would make people assume he was. Liam, she gestured to the lounge. Go ahead, make yourself comfortable. Liam nodded once and took a seat at the far corner, beside a young man who looked a little older than him, probably 22 or 23. He gave the guy a polite nod. The other man, trying to remain casual, nodded back, though his curiosity was practically radiating off him. Stacy slid into the open spot beside Christy. Christy, for her part, was watching Liam like he was a living riddle she couldn't wait to solve. Sensing the tension tightening like a string, Stacy gave a quick cough. Guys, you're all staring. You're going to make him uncomfortable. The spell broke, and a round of sheepish chuckles filled the booth. The guy beside Liam coughed into his fist and finally turned. Sorry, man, he said with a smile. Your name just sounded really familiar. Didn't mean to stare. It's fine, Liam said easily, his voice calm but warm. I've been attracting a lot of curious gazes lately. Stacy coughed again, this time awkwardly, and looked away. She definitely felt targeted. The guy chuckled. Fair enough. He extended a hand. Name's Christopher. Liam, he replied, shaking it. The rest of the group took that as their cue. One after the other, they introduced themselves. Lana, Alex, Elise, Matt, Harper, and finally, Christy. Liam acknowledged them all with a nod or a polite smile. You guys haven't ordered yet? Stacy asked after settling in. We have, Christopher replied. They should be bringing it out in a few. Stacy leaned back, crossing one leg over the other. All right, then. So, Liam, Christy asked, tilting her head, how did you and Stacy meet? Stacy winced. Of course, that was the first question. It was a logical and expected one, but it didn't do anything to lessen the secondhand embarrassment that hit her when she remembered the cringiness of her first interaction with Liam. Liam didn't miss the subtle shift in Stacy's expression. He gave the faintest smile and answered, We live in the same complex. Everyone nodded subtly in understanding when they heard Liam's response. It wasn't unexpected, but they couldn't help but feel that there was indeed some kind of history between the two of them. Then you must be new to the place? Christy pressed, this time with a genuine smile. Yeah, Liam said simply. Hearing this, everyone nodded again, but it made them even more curious and confused as to how Liam and Stacy knew each so fast. This was especially so for Stacy. She was very confused. As Stacy's friends, they are aware of her character and the fact that she barely interacts with anyone in the complex. But since she invited Liam here, then there was something more to it. Still, they didn't pry further. They shifted the topic back to why they were here in the first place, a casual celebratory gathering. Just then the door to the booth opened and two hostesses walked in, balancing trays lined with tall glasses of gold-flecked cocktails and artfully arranged appetizers. Chapter 14, A Good Time. The low lighting reflected off the polished rims, casting glints onto the matte black cocktail table in the center of the lounge booth. Everyone fell silent, watching as the trays were gently placed on the table. One tray carried a spread of luxurious appetizers, mini lobster sliders, served on butter-toasted brioche buns with Maine lobster tail, tarragon aioli, and microgreens arranged like edible lace, truffle duck croquettes, golden brown crisp shells, hiding the creamy black truffle bechamel center, chilled oysters nestled on a bed of crushed ice, paired with a yuzu mignonette and freshly shaved horseradish snow, and Wagyu skewers, each bite-sized cube of A5 Wagyu, lightly glazed in sesame and topped with edible gold flakes. The second tray held elegant flutes and tumblers, filled and ready to be poured, Cristal Rosé champagne, its faint blush hue shimmering under the ambient light. Lychee Royale, pale and floral with a subtle fizz of champagne and elderflower liqueur. Black gold Manhattans rimmed with gold dust and served over a perfect sphere of clear ice. Noir espresso martinis, their rich aroma already energizing the air with cold-brewed espresso and vanilla vodka. And finally, a few cucumber cloud cocktails, delicate green layers topped with cucumber foam and mint sprigs. The entire spread was more art gallery than meal, and Liam couldn't help but blink. He'd never seen party food this refined, and it felt surreal to sit at a table with people who thought this was normal. Christopher clapped his hands lightly, calling everyone's attention. Now that the drinks and food are here. He stood, his expression lighting up. It's time. He turned slightly toward Liam. Liam, I'm not sure if Stacy gave you the full picture, but we're here tonight to celebrate our friend Matt. He gestured toward a young man on the other side of the booth. Matt smiled and nodded modestly. He's graduating from Harvard next month and will be taking a position in the family business. The announcement was met with cheers, raised glasses, and a round of enthusiastic congratulations. Liam also nodded and clapped in congratulations. Graduation was massive. He felt vaguely envious as he would also love to go to uni. But that feeling was vague and fleeting, as it disappeared immediately. Christopher sat back down and Matt stood, giving a small bow. Thank you, he said sincerely, his voice carrying clearly despite the muffled bass of music beyond the booth walls. It really means a lot. He paused, lifting his glass before continuing. Graduation, to most people, means you're finally done with school. But for me, it means my family now expects me to be responsible. It means I've crossed a checkpoint, not a finish line. He smiled faintly and glanced around at his friends. What really matters is how I perform once I'm handed the position. The pressure is real, but I'm ready. I want to earn my stripes, maybe even grow a subsidiary into something serious. A few approving claps followed, and Matt bowed his head once more. Thanks for being here. Let's get the party started. With that, he took the bottle of Cristal Rosé, popped the cork with a practiced twist, and began pouring. He started with himself, then moved glass by glass, making sure everyone had a pour. When he reached Liam, he smiled and offered the flute with both hands, a small but respectful gesture. Thanks, Liam said, accepting it with a nod. The toast was unceremonious, but genuine, just a collective raising of glasses before the conversation shifted back to casual chatter. Liam sipped only a little, more out of social decorum than interest. This would be his first time taking alcohol, and he doesn't want to take too much. He was already taking in too much. The setting, the food, the people, the energy. He reached for one of the mini lobster sliders and took a bite. The taste was divine, sweet, briny, and buttery. The lobster practically melted against the warmth of the brioche. The others were chatting, laughing, teasing Matt about what kind of suit he'd wear on his first day. Liam watched, listened. He smiled when he felt appropriate and nodded along when drawn into conversation. But mostly, he observed. To his surprise, he didn't feel out of place. They weren't performing for each other. No one was trying to impress. Despite the elite surroundings and background, the group's vibe was genuine. Even their interest in him felt natural, not forced. He could read people. It was second nature to him after all he had seen and survived. And these kids, privileged or not, were sincere tonight. It was wildly different from the world he knew, the cold streets filled with betrayals. People there wanted something from you. Here, no one asked what he did. No one asked what car he drove. Not even when he walked in wearing a suit worth more than some people's annual rent. He sipped a bit more champagne, tasted a truffle croquette, and let himself settle into the plush velvet seat. Across the table, Stacy caught his eye and smiled. He gave her a soft nod in return. The hours passed quickly. Between conversations about travel, business school gossip, upcoming summer plans, Liam found himself relaxing. Matt remained the center of attention, as he should be. His friends toasted him, teased him, joked about him messing up his family's legacy within the first month. He took it all with grace and humor, and Liam respected that. Eventually, the food trays were mostly empty, the drinks reduced to melting ice and foam traces. The room had mellowed, the music outside slightly louder now that the night was deep. Stacy checked the time on her phone and let out a quiet laugh. It's almost midnight. Christy yawned. I can't believe I stayed up this long without checking my messages. No one here's driving tonight, right? Christopher asked, glancing around. Everyone shook their heads. Cool. Then I say we crash at the Montreve. There was a general chorus of agreement. The Montreve was a luxury boutique hotel next door, practically part of the Eclipse West ecosystem. Most of them had pre-booked suites anyway. Even Liam found himself nodding. He hadn't expected to be included in the plan, but no one even questioned it. They stood, stretching, chatting about who got which room when Stacy nudged Liam gently. Come on, she said. You're staying too, right? Yeah. She smiled, pleased. They left the booth and walked out into the private hallway, the energy calmer now than when they arrived. Outside, the chill had deepened. The valet took their cars to be parked overnight, and a staff member from the hotel helped arrange check-ins. Within 15 minutes, everyone had filed into their respective suites. Montreve Hotel, Liam's room. Liam stepped out of the bathroom, a soft towel slung around his neck. The shower had helped. He felt clean, warm, and strangely happy. He hadn't expected to enjoy the night. In truth, he thought there'd be tension, jealousy, passive aggression, but there was none of that. No family names dropped, no boasting, no hidden claws, just a group of privileged kids treating him like one of their own. He collapsed onto the bed, letting his body sink into the sheets. He thought about Stacy, about Christopher, about Matt's speech, and about how he, the guy with the mysterious system, had managed to fit in for once without effort. The group's dynamic made him see Stacy in a new light. He still didn't know what this new life would bring. But tonight, for the first time in 4 years, he didn't feel alone. With a content smile, Liam closed his eyes and drifted off to sleep. Chapter 15, Mundane Things. Liam moaned as he slowly woke up. Few seconds later, he was already fully awake. He picked up his phone from the nightstand, and he saw that he has a couple of missed calls from Stacy and some messages. Hey, I came to check up on you, but I got no response after knocking for a while. We are already leaving. Take care of yourself. Please call me if you need anything. Once again, thank you for yesterday. And my friends like you. We hope to see you around more often. Liam smiled and dropped his phone back on the nightstand. He had no idea that Stacy had this side to her. Due to how popular she was back in middle school and high school, he had thought that she would be proud, narcissistic, and arrogant. But surprisingly, she's of really good character. I guess my viewpoint was too narrow. He sighed as he slowly got out of bed and went to the bathroom to freshen up for the day. After he was done with that, he called for establishment's front desk to arrange something for him to eat. While he waited, he decided to sign in for the day. System sign in. Ding. Congratulations, host. You received $1,500,000, a skill. World-class etiquette, a skill. Formless combat doctrine. Liam was a little taken aback by the rewards, but after everything that he has experienced in the past 4 days, he quickly regained his composure. The next moment, his phone buzzed with a credit alert from his bank. He picked up his phone, clicked on the message and checked his balance, and he saw that it has skyrocketed to more than 2.3 million. It was a crazy amount, an amount that Liam never thought he would have in his life and at such a young age. He couldn't help but stare at his account balance, speechless for a while. It's crazy how things had changed so much in less than a week. Liam smiled and turned his attention to the 2 skills he received, and he learned them. Immediately, their description flowed into his head. World-class etiquette. This skill allows the user to instinctively embody the correct behavior, posture, manners, speech tone, dress code, and cultural nuances expected in any environment. Formless combat doctrine. This skill embodies the ability to adapt instinctively to any close quarters threat, using fluid, evolving techniques that draw from dozens of martial philosophies, then transcend them. Wow, Liam muttered in shock when he read the description of the second skill. He felt happy receiving them, even though he has no idea when he will get to use the combat skill. But it felt nice having it. It gave him a sense of security. But he was especially happy receiving the first skill because he knew that he will be needing it. Even now, a couple of combat scenarios were going on in his head, and the skill was already proving its world. With how fast his wealth is growing, so will his status, and that means that he will be invited to some circles. With the skill, he won't behave like a total greenhorn. Wonderful rewards, as always. The system never disappoints. Liam smiled and picked up his phone. He hasn't replied Stacy's messages or returned her calls since he woke up, and it was only right he did so. He replied her message, thanking her for checking in on him and for the previous night. He told her that he enjoyed her and her friend's company, and he would love to meet them again. After he sent the message, he collapsed on his bed and he started thinking of what to do for the day. His thoughts was disrupted the following moment by a series of knock on his door. "Come on in, it's open," he said. The door opened slowly, and a female staff in uniform pushed a good trolley inside. Few minutes later, Liam was done eating and had rested for a few minutes. It was now time to leave, though with a satisfied smile on his face, he picked up his car key and his suit jacket and left the room and made his way to the front desk. He took care of things at the front desk and left the boutique hotel before making his way to the underground parking lot where his car was parked. When he got there, he saw this car and a couple of other cars there. He got into his and started driving home. When Liam got home, the first he did was to take off the suit and the watch and change into something more comfortable. After he was done with that, he went to the living room to relax. He has already thought of what to do for the day, and nothing came to mind. He turned on the TV to continue watching the series he had been watching. But after a couple of seconds, he wasn't really into it. His thoughts drifted to the system and the sign-in function, and he got curious about something. "System, what happens if I don't sign in for a day or more?" It accumulates, and when you use your accumulated sign-ins, there's a higher chance for you to receive even better rewards. Even better rewards? Liam was taken aback by the system's response. "You mean there are even better rewards than what I've been receiving so far?" "Absolutely, host. insane. In just 5 days, he has received a total of 2.4 million in cash reward, a luxury sport car, a penthouse that one would millions to dollars, and connection to acquire, and a residential complex of immense value. And yet, the system is telling him that there are even better rewards. Now, Liam was very curious to know what these rewards would be. But the question was if he would be willing to accumulate his sign-in for them. As for the answer, well, no, not yet at least. It could be said that Liam was still exploring the system, and his curiosity for the sign-in rewards for each day was burning bright. And he's yet to receive his weekly sign-in rewards. Maybe after the next weekly sign-in after this, he will start accumulating. But what was certain was that he won't be doing so at any time soon. Liam's phone buzzed, bringing him out of his thoughts. He checked his phone and he saw that it was a message from Stacy. Stacy, thank you for accepting my invitation yesterday, and I'm glad you enjoyed yourself yesterday. I will definitely invite you whenever we have a gathering next time. Liam, sure, I will be looking forward to it. Stacy, before I forget, they want your contact. You don't mind me giving them, right? Liam, no, not at all. He likes their character and has deemed them as good people, and he wants to be friends with them. There was no reason for him to stop Stacy from giving them his contact. Stacy, thanks, they will be elated. Liam smiled at the message. He was also looking forward to meeting them again. A.N. Please show your support by voting for the book with Power Stones. Your comments and reviews are also appreciated. Please don't be silent readers that read and leave without telling me if it's good or trash. Thank you for reading. Chapter 16. Culinary Skill. The next morning, Liam woke up with the usual smile on his face. Yesterday had been relaxing for him, even though he had spent it doing nothing but watching movies and playing games. It was very relaxing. He got out of bed and walked to the bathroom. Few minutes later, he was out. He put on his clothes and went to the living room to continue the game he was playing before he went to bed yesterday. It was a new game that he had just bought yesterday, and it has a very exciting storyline. He took his seat and turned on his gaming console. While he waited for it to load, he decided to sign in for the day. System, sign in. Ding. Congratulations, host. You received a skill. World-class culinary arts, a skill, perfect memory, +5 attribute points. Wow. Even more amazing rewards. Though he didn't receive any cash reward or anything of monetary value, the 2 skills and the attribute points he received are of immense value. He focused on the skills, learned them, and information on different arts of cooling, and everything related to it flowed into his mind. At the same time, he felt like his brain was greatly stimulated and lots of memories starting bubbling to the surface. Most of them were memories that he has forgotten, especially from when he was still very little. He started remembering how things were with his parents before everything fell apart, the day his dad walking out the door. He quickly suppressed the memories and focused on the memories related to school. With this skill, he can now remember everything he was taught in school and everything he had ever read, even some memories that he had no idea he had and used to feel more like a dream started surfacing with extreme clarity, surprising him. This skill is amazing, Liam muttered in disbelief. As always, the system never disappoints. And yes, as those faint memories surfaced with extreme clarity, so did his cringy memories gain even more clarity than before. and Liam was hit with a strong wave of secondhand embarrassment, causing him to wince. But maybe, because of the world-class etiquette skill, he wasn't affected too much by those memories. Let's assign those attribute points, he smiled. Status: host, Liam Scott. Age: 18. System level: 1. Strength: 9, 10. Agility: 7, 8. Stamina: 9, 12. Attribute points: 5. Skills: pro-level vehicular operation, world-class etiquette, world-class culinary arts, formless combat doctrine, perfect memory. Inventory: empty. System functions: sign in. Looking at his status screen this time, Liam was suddenly curious about something. System: how good is my strength compared to others? Thanks to the system, he was able to grow stronger by adding attribute points to his attributes. But while he did feel that he had grown stronger, he has no idea just how strong he is and how he compares to others. The highest a human can achieve without any form of enhancement is 20 points in all attributes. Without any form of enhancement, what does that mean? Liam asked curiously. Even without the system's answer, he already had a suspicion. Enhancement-like serums, for implants, for boosting strengths and other attributes. Exactly as I had suspected. But are such enhancement possible? Thing like that only happen in movies and stories, he muttered slowly, as he thought of the possibility. Who am I kidding? I have a mysterious system that's giving me wealth and skills and also increasing my strength. So, who said that something like that can't exist? Besides, technology has advanced so far, and AI has grown to the point that things are becoming scary. Liam thought of this and sighed. He decided to stop overthinking things that doesn't concern him, at least for the moment. He turned his attention back to the attribute points and assigned them accordingly. This time around, he assigned 2 points to his strength and his stamina, and 1 to his agility. And just like the first time, he felt that warm current course through his body. But this time, it wasn't as vague as before, and he could almost feel it properly. He felt it flow from an unknown region in his body and spreading throughout his body. The feeling disappeared right after that, but Liam could feel that he had grown stronger than before. He clenched his fist, and he felt like it was packed with explosive power, giving the illusionary feeling that he could punch through the wall without a problem. Liam naturally didn't want to test his strength on the walls of his penthouse. Should I visit a gym? He thought about it, but ultimately decided against it. Well, I'm hungry. Let me make myself something to eat. Liam smiled to himself as he stood up from the couch and went to the kitchen. Since he received a world-class skill related to cooking, he definitely has to try it out. He stepped into the kitchen with a new kind of confidence. The moment he opened the fridge, his eyes scanned the contents with precise clarity. Ingredients he'd normally overlook now seemed full of potential. Chicken thighs, fresh garlic, jasmine rice, a carton of cream, lemons, thyme, butter. His fingers moved automatically. He grabbed what he needed and set everything on the marble countertop. There was no recipes or second-guessing, as the world-class culinary arts skill had already taken over. He rinsed the jasmine rice until the water ran clear, then soaked it briefly. Meanwhile, he prepped the chicken, deboning the thighs with near-surgical precision, scoring the skin lightly to ensure crispness. He seasoned with salt, cracked black pepper, a dash of paprika, and just enough lemon zest to lift the aroma. Next came the pan. He set it to medium-high and added a touch of butter and olive oil. As the pan warmed, He began slicing garlic paper-thin and dicing shallots like a chef in a Michelin kitchen. The chicken went skin side down first, the sizzle releasing a mouth-watering scent almost instantly. He didn't rush, just let it render and crisp slowly. While that cooked, he started the rice, toasting it lightly in butter with the shallots, then adding water and a pinch of salt before covering it with a tight lid. He flipped the chicken with a flick of the wrist, perfect golden brown. Once done, he deglazed the pan with a splash of cream and lemon juice, tossing in the garlic and thyme to build a quick pan sauce. The fragrance alone made his stomach growl. 10 minutes later, everything was plated with care. Not fancy, just clean and composed. Seared chicken on a bed of aromatic jasmine rice, drizzled with lemon garlic cream sauce and topped with fresh herbs. Liam sat at the counter, took a bite, and blinked. "Damn," he muttered, chewing slowly. The flavors were deep yet balanced, creamy, citrusy, savory. The rice was soft but not mushy. The chicken? Juicy and flavorful, with that perfect crunch on the skin. This was the best chicken he has eaten, ever. He smiled to himself. The skill wasn't just technical, it had intuition built into it. I love you, system. System. Chapter 17. Reminisce, Clarity. The day passed uneventfully for Liam, and it was already evening. He stood up from the sofa and did a stretch to loosen his stiff body. He has been seated in front of the TV all day, focused on the new game and trying to complete. It hasn't been easy, though. The game is just as difficult as its name. The people that makes these soul games are masochistics. No one can tell me otherwise. But I guess I'm a bigger one for not giving up. Ha! Liam let out a lengthy sigh. He looked at his phone and saw that it was past 6. I've been playing for more than 9 hours. Wow. I should go get some fresh air. He walked to the door and picked up his car key and left the penthouse. He decided to get some fresh air by taking an evening drive around town. Liam drove out of the estate and drove down the road with no destination in mind. As he drove, he thought of places to go to spend a quiet evening. He wasn't hungry. Neither does he want to talk to anyone or really do anything in particular. What he really needs is to enjoy his newfound wealth with peaceful quiet and the beautiful sound of nature. As he thought of that, he decided to go to the beach. It was the best place he could think of. A few minutes later, he arrived there. He parked his car appropriately and walked towards the roaring ocean in the distance. It was already getting late and the sun was about to set, so the beach was mostly free of people. Liam slowly walked towards the shore and stopped a couple of distance from it. He saw a small rock or boulder a few distance from him and walked towards it, and sat down. He smiled as he watched the ocean's rhythm, the gentle swash creeping up the sand, carrying bits of the sea with it, before the backwash pulled it away again, dragging coarse grains of shore back into the waves. A cool breeze moved through the air, tinged with salt and the faint scent of seaweed. The cry of distant seagulls echoed overhead, sharp but not unpleasant, occasionally rising above the soft rustle of the wind. To his left, the sun hovered low on the horizon, painting streaks of orange, pink, and violet across the water. The sky deepened by the minute, shifting toward a dark blue dome, scattered with the first hints of stars. Nearby, a cluster of rocks jutted from the shoreline, and the water slapped gently against them, creating a rhythmic splash like nature's slow heartbeat. Tiny crabs skittered across the wet sand, vanishing into holes as the tide swept forward again. He could hear the hushed laughter of a couple walking far down the shore, their voices blurred by distance and the constant whisper of waves. The beach wasn't crowded, just a few scattered souls taking in the quiet beauty of twilight. It was peaceful, very peaceful indeed. Liam thought of something and he took off his footwear, stood up from the boulder, and walked barefooted to the shore. The moment his soles touched the cool sand, a shiver went up his spine. But it wasn't from the cold. It was something deeper. The grains were soft in some places, compact in others, and scattered with the occasional shell or smooth pebble. Each step grounded him, pulled him further from his thoughts and deeper into the present. The sand clung to his feet as he walked, and with each step closer to the water, it grew cooler, damper. He could feel it sinking slightly under his weight, hugging his heels. The breeze tousled his hair gently, and he inhaled deeply, filling his lungs with the briny air. A few paces more, and the first wave kissed his toes. He stilled. The water was cold, but not unpleasant, like the shock of a cold towel on a warm day. It rushed forward gently in a frothy sheet, curling around his ankles before pulling back with a soft suction that tugged at the sand beneath his feet. He could feel the ground shifting under him, eroding with each retreat, leaving his heels more exposed, more sunken. The tide came again, a little stronger, splashing against his shins this time. He closed his eyes. The sensation was oddly purifying and satisfying. His pulse slowed, his shoulders loosened, and for the first time in what felt like forever, his mind was completely blank, devoid of any thoughts whatsoever as he just stood there, in the water, letting the ocean come and go. The breeze brushed against his face, and somewhere overhead, a seagull let out a drawn-out cry that quickly faded into the wind. The orange glow on the horizon had dimmed further, and the waves caught that last bit of sunlight, flashing gold before going dark again. The world was alive, moving, breathing, and he was here, barefooted and strangely at peace. But that strange peace didn't last too long as a strange, stifling feeling filled his heart the following moment. He had no idea what this feeling is, but he had felt it during the first year his mother left him, technically making him an orphan. He thought he had gotten rid of it, but it seems like he was wrong. Should I go there? He felt like going back to his old neighborhood. He wants to see the house he used to live with his parents, the house he grew up in, and the house he once called home. No need going there won't change anything. And it's been many years now. There's a high chance that the property isn't even there anymore, and an even higher chance of it already occupied by someone else. As for both his parents, it has been years since he last saw them, and he doesn't care if they are dead or alive, though he was sure that they are alive. Truth be told, Liam hates his parents. He hates them with every single cell in his body. AMD, he hates his father even more. He feels that if his father hadn't left that day, they will still be that happy family he once knew. Or maybe he's deluding himself. Were they really a happy family? As far as he can remember, his parents never really acted like actual husband and wife. It was more like two strangers living under the same roof, and he was just something that popped out of nowhere. In other words, he was an accident. Liam smiled ruefully and let out a lengthy sigh. His parents are things of the past. He was already aware of this years ago. There's no need reminiscing on what would have been. It's time for him to move forward and make the best out of his life. He will live his life to the fullest, enjoying the best and finest things in life because he has the money. He exhaled sharply and closed his eyes. The breeze, once comforting, now felt colder, making his thoughts clearer. There's a saying that if money isn't solving your problem, then you're not throwing enough at it. And if you say it can't buy you happiness, then you don't have enough of it. Money rules the world. It makes the world go round. It opens every single door you want open and shuts those you don't want open. Money isn't power, but it buys power. And with sufficient power, everything's up for grabs. Chapter 18, Insane Level of Rewards. The next morning, Liam walked out of bathroom using his towel to clean his body. He had just taken his bath after he was done cleaning the house. Today makes it the 7th day since he got the system, and today will also be his first weekly sign-in. He was very curious and excited to see what he will get. He hadn't signed in yet, as he wanted to complete his morning routine so that he can freely take his time with the rewards he will get. Not that he doesn't have all the time in the world. With the level of rewards he has received in the past 6 days, he had very high hopes for the weekly sign-in rewards. Liam smiled as he put on the last piece and went to the living room. He eased himself into a sofa and rubbed his hand together eagerly. System, sign in. Ding! Congratulations, host, on your first weekly sign-in. You received $5,000. You received a residential building, Bellemere Mansion, located in Holmby Hills. You received a Ferrari SF9 Stradale. You received a Aston Martin Vantage GT3. You received a Lamborghini Temerario, plus 10 attribute points. The money has been transferred to your account. The key to the property and its documents are in the inventory. The cars are parked at the residential building and their keys are in the inventory. Holy shit! Liam was shocked beyond words. He had expected the weekly sign-in rewards to be good, but he didn't expect it to be this good. Liam's was brought of his shock by the buzz of his phone beside him. He excitedly took a look at it, and he saw it. A whopping $5 million has been transferred to his account. His balance has skyrocketed from $2.3 million to an amazing amount of more than $7.3 million. Amazing, incredible. Liam was short for words. He thought that he was slowly getting used to the surprises the system has been throwing at him, but this made him realize that he was terribly wrong. He smiled from ear to ear as he continued to stare at his balance. The amount comfortable sitting there right now was an amount that can change a lot of people's life over and over again. He sighed as he tried to regain control over his emotions. With his emotions under control, so was his thoughts. He looked at the name of property he received, and he decided to search for it online. He doesn't know if he will see it and the neighborhood online, but he felt that he should be able to get an understanding of things from the information he would get. Wait, what? Liam couldn't believe what he was seeing. He had just typed in property's name and its location, and he got multiple results. But the most shocking thing was the amount he's seeing on his screen, by just from a casual search. I think I searched it wrong, he thought as he closed the tab. He decided to search again, and this time only. He was only going to search for the location where the property is located. A few seconds later, Liam burst into a hearty, full laughter. Ha 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 ha! Wow! He couldn't believe it. He had searched up the location, and he saw that the first search results were correct. He also saw his new property as one of the popular searches. Not only that, it's actually breaking news. One of Holmby Hills' crown jewels, a property valued at more $70 million, has just been sold to a mysterious buyer, one article read. Wow, Liam could only mutter again in shock. At this point, he felt like a broken record. But can he really be blamed? He has received so much for doing absolutely nothing, and he's going to receive even more in the future. And he would be lying if he said that he wasn't scared. But he was also excited at the same time, and his excitement overwhelms his fear. Liam took a deep breath and exhaled slowly, trying to get his emotions under control. It took him a few seconds, but he succeeded. He had thought that the $5 million was a lot, but the system, as always, didn't surprise and gave him extra dose of surprises. A bright, wide smile bloomed on Liam's face as he thought of the fact that he would now be living in the same neighborhood as some of the biggest names in the country. Liam decided to immediately go and see his new house. He didn't bother to search for the cars online or allocate his attribute points. He felt it's better seeing the cars in person when he gets to there, and he has all the time in the world to freely allocate the attribute points. But before he left, he went into his room and took the custom suit, watch, and shoe. The reason? He'd figured that he probably won't come back to the penthouse after he lives, and so it was better to just take these things with him. He walked to the door and picked up the Maserati Gran Turismo key where he left it. He opened the door and stepped out of the penthouse, but before leaving, he took one more look at the penthouse and smiled in nostalgia. He had lived here less than a week, but the days he spent here was the best in like forever. I wonder if I will come back here, he thought as he closed the door and walked down the hallway to his private elevator. Imperial Continental, Bel Air. Liam parked his car in front of the exclusive restaurant and walked into it. He decided to get himself something to eat before he arrives at the mansion. He would be doing a very comprehensive tour of the mansion when he gets there, and with how big it is, according to the pictures he saw online, he would be too tired to eat after he's done. As he walked to the establishment, he thought of something crucial. System. Can I sell the penthouse or rent it out? No, host. Properties and assets given by the system can't be sold or given out. I see. He actually had no thought of selling or leasing out the penthouse, but he was curious about the possibility. But now that he has gotten an answer from the system, then he would forget it. Now, let's stop thinking about unnecessary things and get something to eat. He was about to open the restaurant's door when someone collided into him. He raised his head and looked at the person, and he saw a young man who looks to be a little older than him. What the hell? Are you fucking blind? Can't you watch where you're going, dumbass? The young man asked with irritation. Liam frowned slightly when he heard the young man's unapologetic tone. The young man saw the frown on Liam's face, and his irritation grew. He was already angry enough that some nobody bumped into him, but it's even worse as the person is a freak. Hey, freak! Get the fuck out of my way, you bumped into me and can't apologize. But don't be stupid. I don't have time to waste on the likes of you, he growled, and proceeds to push Liam out of the way, but he didn't bulge. Liam, who was already very irritated with the current situation and the foul mouth of the beast in front of him, couldn't take it anymore and decided to take action. With near lightning-fast movements, he reached out and grabbed the young man's hand that was on his shoulder and squeezed. Crack! The sound of bone cracking echoed, followed by the blood-curdling scream of the young man as he crumpled to his knees. Ah, you son of a bitch! Liam looked at him with a bone-chilling look in his eyes, and he spoke slowly with an equally cold voice. Next time, you should really mind your manners. Or better yet, keep your mouth shut so that you won't get killed by a freak. Fuck you! Go to hell, freak! Do you know who I am, huh? Do you fucking know who you're messing with? I'm not willing to listen further to noise-making thing in front of him. Liam slapped him across the face, shutting him up. He let go of his hand and dusted his hands like he was getting rid of dirt. He didn't spare the person on the floor a glance as he walked over him and walked into the restaurant. The young man saw this and his face reddened in anger. "You fucker! Just you wait. I will come back for you, and I will make you pay for this, you son of a bitch! Fuck!" He roared as he pulled himself up from the floor. But Liam didn't turn back or acknowledge any of his threats, just as he had never given a fuck about him from the beginning. Chapter 19, Bellemere Mansion. Liam took his time, enjoying the meal he ordered. The restaurant really deserved their name and title as an upscale establishment, as the meal was simply delicious. Though there was something Liam noticed as he ate. Unlike before, when he would just shovel food into his mouth without much thought, he now carried himself with quiet grace. With each bite, he could casually identify ingredients and cooking techniques as if he'd been trained in a Michelin star kitchen. Even his posture, gestures, and the way he held his cutlery felt instinctively proper. It felt strange at first, but he quickly got used to it. Though he has no idea what he will use the knowledge he's getting about the meal to do, but he appreciated it nonetheless. After he was done with his meal, he called the waitress and paid his bill. With that settled, he stood and left the restaurant. Stepping out of the restaurant, he looked up at the sky and smiled. The sun was already up and shining bright in the sky, indicating that it's going to be a wonderful day for him. Well, the day was already going excellently well for him. He wondered if it could get any better. Bellemere Mansion, here I come. He walked to his car and slid into the driver's seat, started the engine with a low growl of power, and began the drive toward Holmby Hills. The roads slowly shifted from high-end suburban comfort to the refined opulence that only the most exclusive neighborhoods could afford. Designer homes gave way to sprawling gated estates, each one a fortress of wealth and history. After nearly half an hour, he turned onto the quiet, tree-lined street where Bellemere Mansion was located. He slowed down, admiring the stretch of tall, hedge-lined walls that bordered the property. The hedges were immaculate, dense, dark green, and trimmed to a perfect 6 feet. Their towering uniformity gave the estate a secluded, almost regal feel, broken only by soft rustling in the breeze and the occasional glint of sun through the leaves. As he approached the mansion's front gates, they began to open automatically with a soft mechanical sound. Liam smiled. The system had already logged his car's number plate into the estate's security grid, and so there was no need for a remote or buzzer. It was like his arrival was expected. He drove through the gates slowly, eyes sweeping across the wide stone-paved driveway and the expansive green lawns that flanked it on either side. The gates slid shut behind him, sealing him inside his newest prize. It took a moment to drive to the entrance of the mansion, as the driveway was long, with a large open field on each side. He parked near the front of the mansion, directly before a curved portico supported by tall white columns. The building's facade was a masterpiece of modern European design, grandeur without gaudiness. Cream-colored stone, soft-edged archways, bronze fixtures, and wide-paneled windows lined with smart tint glass. Liam stepped out of the car, the air around him tinged with citrus from the manicured lemon trees lining the path. He took a moment to admire the sheer scale of the structure before him. Then, with a quiet breath, he approached the front entrance. A glossy panel was set into the stone beside the large oak doors. He tapped in the 6-digit passcode and placed his thumb against the biometric scanner. A brief moment passed before the device beeped, followed by the quiet click of the smart lock disengaging. The heavy door unlocked and gently eased open on its own. Liam reached out and gave it a small push. It swung open fully, revealing a portion of the grand interior. Marble floors, sweeping staircase with a brass rail, high ceilings with inset lighting, and polished black and gold fixtures that gleamed in the morning light. He smiled and let out another lengthy sigh before taking a step into the mansion. The moment Liam stepped through the grand entrance of Bellemere Mansion, a wave of chilled, lightly scented air greeted him. Cool eucalyptus and faint lavender mixed into the atmosphere, piped discreetly through the high-end HVAC system. He stood in a vast two-story foyer, flooded with natural light, streaming through towering windows and a glass-paneled skylight far above. The polished marble flooring stretched out beneath his feet in a checkerboard pattern of ivory and champagne hues. In the center sat a circular inlaid design, delicate yet imposing, a stylized crest of the estate carved into the stone itself. To his left, a twin staircase spiraled upward in a wide curve, both sides joining at a broad mezzanine above. The handrails were made of polished brass, paired with dark walnut steps that matched the ornate crown molding running along the ceiling's perimeter. Everything sparkled, from the chandelier overhead, made of custom Venetian crystal, to the door handles coated in brushed platinum. Liam exhaled quietly. This place is insane. He took slow steps into the grand foyer, soaking it all in. He turned right and found himself in a formal sitting room, expansive and bright. It held an oversized curved sectional in soft cream, centered around a circular stone table. Floor-to-ceiling windows opened directly to the outdoor pool and garden, but were currently shaded by automatic smart blinds that adjusted with the sun's position. An alcove wall held built-in shelves filled with rare books, sculptures, and commissioned art. A fireplace was set into the far wall, with a marble mantel and a discreet touchscreen to control temperature and flame height. He wandered deeper into the mansion, heading left, down a corridor where recessed lighting and elegant sconces lit the way. Every hallway had its own signature aesthetic, one in deep navy tones, with brass trimmings, another in soft gray, with floor-length gallery pieces on either side. The dining room was next, a room fit for royalty. A custom dining table made from a single slab of Carpathian elm stretched 12 feet long, surrounded by ergonomic leather chairs with gold frames. Above the table floated a sculptural lighting fixture, dozens of thin glass shards suspended like falling snow, all individually lit. Adjacent to it was the show kitchen, double island layout, all wrapped in honed Calicotta marble. Top-of-the-line appliances, Sub-Zero fridge, La Cornue range, built-in espresso bar, and even a concealed walk-in pantry that looked like another wall at first glance. Off to the side was the chef's kitchen, just as large but entirely separate, perfect for catering or private staff. A quick exploration led him to the wine cellar, tucked beneath the main level through a temperature-controlled glass door. Rows upon rows of vintage wine rested horizontally in custom racks, each bottle softly illuminated with its own tag display. It even had a tasting corner with a small bar, 2 stools, and a marble tasting slab with a rinse sink. Liam then walked to the entertainment wing. Yes, wing. The theater was fully equipped with 10 luxurious recliners, soft blue ambient lighting on the walls, soundproofing panels, and a 13-foot cinema screen. It had 7.2.4 surround sound, invisible ceiling speakers, and velvet blackout drapes for maximum immersion. Across from it, a gaming and recreation room, a fusion of classic and modern, billiard table, retro arcade corner, and an entire wall lined with screens for console and PC gaming. Liam stood there for a while, grinning. As he explored the backyard via the large glass sliders, the sound of a soft waterfall filled the air. The centerpiece pool sparkled under the morning sun, complete with underwater LED lighting, a swim-up bar, and a sunken lounge with a fire pit in the middle. There was a detached spa area, with a hot tub covered by a canopy, an ambient mist system for warm nights. Next to the pool sat the cabana and outdoor kitchen, marble counters, ice machine, teppanyaki grill, built-in smoker, multiple fridges, and a 12-seater curved outdoor dining table with heating coils underneath for cooler evenings. Returning indoors, Liam made his way upstairs via the right spiral staircase. On the second floor, each hallway had art lighting and hardwood underfoot, softened by Persian runners. The guest rooms were more like mini suites, each one with king-sized beds, custom millwork closets, ensuite bathrooms with heated floors, and private balconies that overlooked either the gardens or the city skyline beyond. Then he reached the master wing. The master bedroom was massive, larger than his entire penthouse, vaulted ceiling with floating panels, hidden lighting, a fireplace built into a slate wall, and floor-to-ceiling windows with a panoramic view of LA. A soft chaise lounge sat by the windows, next to a telescope mounted on a marble base. The bed was a custom platform king, framed in leather and wrapped in soft gray Egyptian cotton. On either side, nightstands with gold trim and voice-activated smart hubs. The walk-in closet? It wasn't a closet. It was a boutique showroom. Glass front wardrobes, rotating accessory displays, mirrored islands with built-in velvet-lined drawers, and even an integrated scent-diffusing wardrobe for long-term storage. The master bathroom was an experience in itself. Dual vanities, a rain shower as big as a bedroom with programmable water flow settings, a soaking tub made of hand-carved stone, mood lighting controlled by app or panel, and a retractable skylight directly above the tub. Liam didn't even realize how long he had been touring the property until he made his way back downstairs. He passed by a private library, a fully equipped home gym, and a hidden door that led to a secured vault and panic room. Finally, he returned to the living area. With a content sigh, he lowered himself onto one of the ultra-soft velvet sectionals, sinking into the cushions like a king returning to his throne. He leaned back, arms stretched along the backrest, head tilted slightly upward as he took in the room once more. Sunlight filtered gently through the smart glass panels, casting warm gold across the marble floor. Liam chuckled softly to himself, then broke into a bright, satisfied smile. He hadn't even lived a full week with the system. And yet, here he was, sitting in a crown jewel of Holmby Hills, with millions in his account and an insane level of wealth. And this was only the beginning. He exhaled again and closed his eyes. I could get used to this. Chapter 20. Inconsequential Things. Meanwhile, Liam was enjoying the tour of the mansion and taking in the wonderful view. Some distance from the mansion's gate, a black car that had been packed there for a while was now pulling back. Inside the car was a familiar young man who Liam would have recognized, and he was with two older men, the person driving the car and another seated in the passenger seat. "What the fuck are we doing out here when he's this in there?" The young man spoke in a very angry voice as he glared at the hedge-lined walls of the property. "Are you dumb? Will you stop barking like a dog and think properly?" The man seated in the passenger seat said with irritation. "We followed him all the way from the exterior part of Bel Air, and he drove into Holmby Hills. Do you think he's an ordinary person? Fucking use your brain for once. It's not meant to be just for show. Besides, that's Bellamere Mansion he just drove into." The driver nodded and continued. "I heard it was just sold early today to a mysterious buyer. I'm sure if the kid is that mysterious buyer, but even if he's not, he's definitely related. So, we have to be careful." "So, we are just going to let him off just like that? He broke my fucking arm." the young man yelled in anger. "Will you just fucking stop telling Jason?" The man in the passenger seat yelled back at him. "You said he broke your arm, but I'm very sure that you were definitely the one that went looking for trouble. And now, you want us to take care of it? You're an adult, for heaven's sake. Grow up and take responsibility for your actions. Stop being such a crybaby." "I understand how you feel, Kevin, but it doesn't change the fact that someone laid their hands on our brother. We have to make him pay," the driver said. "Then what do you suggest we do, Chris?" Kevin asked. "First, we will investigate him and find out everything we can about him. We have to confirm if he's the mysterious buyer or related to the person. If it's something we can easily handle, we will take care of it quietly. But it's not. We will have to call in some help. No matter how powerful one is, there's always someone higher," Chris replied. "Whatever. But I'm tired of taking care of Jason all the time. He has to grow up." "He's no longer a kid," Kevin said. "You hear that, Jason? Grow up," Chris said. Jason clenched his fists hard and gritted his teeth at his brother's words. He was raging inside and was trying his best to hold himself back. He wished he could rush into the property and beat the hell out of that freak, but that's impossible. The truth was that he didn't expect the person he deemed a nobody to actually live in Holmby Hills. It would have been a different thing entirely if he doesn't, but for him to leave here and have access to a property worth tens of millions of dollars means that he's no ordinary person. Still, he won't give up. An eye for an eye, a broken arm for a broken arm. As for the person that was the topic of discussion, he was happily lounging on the ultra-comfortable sofa and enjoying himself. He picked up his phone and looked at the time, and he saw that it was almost evening. He arrived at the mansion early noon, and it took him almost the whole of the afternoon to tour the house. This goes to show just how big the property is. Liam was still smiling from ear to ear at how surreal owning such a property feels. At first, he had thought that the title Crown Jewel of Holmby Hills was just given to it to jack up the price. But now that he has seen it in person, he feels that it really deserves the title. "I still haven't seen the new cars." He immediately stood up and walked to the garage. He has to see the 3 beasts he received from the system. The garage is located underground and has space for more than 12 cars. The entry to the garage from outside is a sloped drive-in with a door at the end that will automatically open when it senses the license plate. And it also has a biometric scanner outside the garage for when new unregistered cars are brought in, and inside for accessing it from within the mansion. Standing at the interior door that links the mansion to the underground garage, he pressed his thumb on the biometric scanner and he heard a beep as the scanner glowed green. A beep was heard, and the door made a clicking sound, telling Liam that it was now unlocked. Liam closed his eyes for a moment, let out a lengthy sigh as he reached out and pushed open the door. As he pushed the door open, the lights began to turn on one by one in smooth succession, casting pools of warm light that spread across the polished epoxy floor like unfolding stage lights. Each bulb seemed to hum gently, illuminating the vast underground garage. And vast it was. The first thing that hit him was the sheer cleanliness of it all. The entire space was pristine, walls paneled with brushed aluminum and matte black accents, floors gleaming under a high-gloss resin finish, and ceiling lights embedded in a grid-like pattern to minimize shadows. There was even a soft scent in the air, like expensive leather and machine oil, a showroom scent. The temperature was cool and perfect, as it's controlled. He stepped further inside, his heels echoing faintly in the wide chamber. The garage was easily capable of housing more than 12 vehicles, with wide, clearly marked spaces, and smart ceiling mounts that could lower or lift individual lighting panels for focused detailing work. Tool cabinets and detailing stations lined the far wall, sleek and stainless, like surgical equipment for a car enthusiast. There was also a EV charging station with level 2 charger in a corner. And in the center of it all, under direct overhead lighting, stood the 3 cars he had received from the system. Liam stopped and blinked, and then he let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. The Ferrari SF90 Stradale gleamed like a blade in the spotlight. Its scarlet-red bodywork looked dipped in molten metal, the curvature of its aerodynamic design capturing light and flinging it off in radiant streaks. The carbon fiber splitter at the front, the aggressive grille, and the low, predatory stance made it look like it was already in motion, even while parked. Its company's logo on the hood shone like a crown jewel, subtle, but undeniably elite. Right beside it sat the Aston Martin Vantage GT3, a beast of an entirely different class. This one was raw. A performance machine, born for the track but refined enough to belong in a billionaire's garage. Matte, graphite gray with lime green accents lining the wing mirrors and brake calipers, the exaggerated rear wing, the diffuser fins, the razor-sharp lines. It looked like something that would scream across a circuit at 200 mph with no remorse. And finally was the Lamborghini Temerario, a machine that looked less like a car and more like something crafted by a god of speed. Its body was finished in a high-gloss obsidian black, touched with pearlescent flakes that shimmered subtly as the overhead lights danced across it. The scissor doors were currently closed, but even at rest, they hinted at the drama they were capable of. The sculpted body lines twisted like controlled chaos. Every inch was form-meeting function. Its front fascia was sharp, angular, a statement of rebellion and luxury fused together. Liam stood there, speechless and in disbelief. These 3 hypercars are all his. He walked around them slowly, fingers trailing lightly over the surfaces, as he was trying to wake himself up from the sweet dream he's in. "I should probably take one out for a ride," he muttered, and fixed his eyes on the Lamborghini. He smiled and immediately took out its key from the inventory and walked to the driver's side. He pressed the unlock button and the car beeped, indicating that it's now unlocked. He opened the door and comfortably slid into the driver's seat. The driver's seat of the car was just perfect. It felt like he was seated in a cockpit, as intended by the manufacturer. His smile widened as he placed his hand on the steering and slowly brought his hand to the ignition button. Liam closed his eyes for a moment, let out a lengthy sigh, and pressed the ignition button. The following moment, a bestial roar was heard as the car's engine came to life. "That's what I'm talking about!" He nodded in satisfaction and steered the car out of the garage. The garage's exterior door opened up automatically and Liam drove out, down the driveway to the gate, which opened automatically on his approach, allowing him to drive out. Outside, he looked around and he saw that the black car that had been tailing him since he left the restaurant wasn't in sight. "They left? I thought they would wait for me to come and then jump me. I guess they thought things through." He had noticed the car following him a few minutes after he left the restaurant. He felt that it was the young man he had a little scuffle with. He had expected them to try something on the way, but they didn't, and followed him until he drove into the property. "I'm curious to see what they want to pull. Whatever it is, I will tear them down." He decided to stop thinking about inconsequential things as he steered the car down the street of Holmby Hills.